Anyway, good evening and welcome to June 9th, 2016 Planning Board meeting. The first item on the agenda is Phil Romano. He's back because he's in the industrial zone. I'm happy for him. We'll talk about it later.
And I have included the minutes of the meeting.
Wow.
When he was here the last time. So rather than reinvent the wheel, you can just second and throw them.
There you go.
So in the industrial, we got the sheet metal working, right? That's how we're putting that in as an allowed use?
Metal working is allowed. So I think he's gonna call his business River Road Metal Works.
There you go. That's a good name, actually.
If it's a good name, it's probably taken somewhere.
New Hampshire division, yeah, that's good. River Road Metalworks, I like it.
Careful, he might ask you for royalty fees.
Yes, that'll work. What questions do you have for us? And excuse me, I'm tired tonight, so.
You know, I'm gonna run a nice facility over there. It would be nice, it'd be clean, the neighbors will be happy. You know, I wanna clean the place up nice. I'm not looking to, you know, work late, just enough to make a nice little facility there, and that's it. I'm not looking to,
I think his question is site plan alone or site plan and variance. According to the minutes you have discussed.
okay.
In my opinion, he fits under metalworking, doesn't need a variance. I don't know.
Did you say he,
Does
according
not.
to you, he did not?
I think he does not
He does not what?
need a variance. Since he's zoned industrial, we thought he was zoned commercial before. That's my opinion. I'm not speaking for the whole board.
Well, we have a very, and I believe we do, as I recall, a very specific plan. So, is that in the minutes, that the,
Yeah,
it is? Yeah.
your discussion with article.
I mean, obviously, something like that could branch out into, who knows?
I understand.
And, you know, what I picture when I see scrap metal, the big wooden fence. Behind it, you see a few car tops and a couple of things leaning over, an old flagpole probably.
I'm gonna call you back, Chuck.
So, not necessarily desirable, in some places at least. And you're right there next to the road, so, I mean, what you described was something entirely different. Hopefully that's what we could agree on.
Well, I can guarantee you there will never be no automotive scrap in that place. Nothing with oil, nothing with Freon, nothing. Absolutely positively guaranteed. As soon as it gets to my door, it'll be going out the same way. I don't, that's nothing but aggravation. I've been through down that road 10 years ago. I don't need it anymore.
So if somebody brings you an aluminum radiator,
If it's clean,
but you can't get all the coolant out of it.
aluminum radiator, you could. I mean, if somebody's gonna take it out of a car, it's gonna drop.
Okay, my concerns are, so you're not taking AC cores,
No,
okay? Are you taking, transmission coolers, radiators that have transmission coolers?
most of the stuff
that have oil in
that's drained before we would get it. I would only take drained, nothing with
Okay.
oils or contaminants,
that? Okay,
nothing. Absolutely, positively guarantee it. I would never do it.
okay. And transmissions? They're
If the house, the housings, somebody would always
Okay.
take the pan off of it.
Okay,
And that would be included in his site plan.
okay.
Yeah, I think you need to be real specific about the notes that you put on your site plan, that
Yes, no, non-ferrous, nothing, no
Yeah,
Right,
liquids
right.
somehow.
Absolutely. It's not gonna benefit me anyway.
Right,
there's no benefit.
If you don't wanna do it, just specify that.
There's no benefits to that. By me taking in like a car or something, that's just stupid business.
No,
Yeah.
the only concern I had was, items that had residual oil or anything.
Right, no, I understand.
The leaking of that. And
You know,
how that
an old
would-
lady brings in a lawnmower. That's the issue you're gonna have, and I would say, ma'am, you have to drain it all completely before we would even consider it. And that's basically how I would do it.
And are your customers going to be both, the general public and municipalities?
Basically, tradesman is really what we target. But
Okay.
if you came to my facility, you'd have to give me a license. We'd only
Okay.
take anybody without a license. Take a photocopy of the license. 'Cause-
So if the town of Ware wanted to utilize your,
Right.
your services,
Right.
you would, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But basically, what we do is we take a copy of your license, make sure you're legitimate, because a lot of people steal stuff.
Yeah.
And then I gotta buy it twice.
Yeah.
Like, it happens millions of times.
Oh, yeah.
Some guy comes in, got all brand new Home Depot piping, where'd it come from?
Yeah.
And that's the part I don't want.
Yep.
It's the plumbers, the electricians, if you vinyl siding your house, you had aluminum siding, that's the stuff that we want.
Yep.
The riffraff, you're gonna get it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you just don't, I just don't want it.
No, those are just some questions that I have.
No, and I understand, that's a, and we would be in contact with the police department, because usually, the police department calls you like once a week if something stolen, a stolen motorcycle, a stolen,
yeah,
copper
you're the
pipe.
first place they're gonna go over.
First place,
Right.
exactly, and most of the time, we'll get it from like Manchester.
Yeah.
People who's gonna steal it over there and bring it over here. That's basically how it rolls. But tradespeople, electricians, plumbers, those are the people that, you really want.
Mr. Chairman, what was the decision on junkyards? I read in the minutes that there was some issue about that.
Well, we were questioning if he was a junkyard.
Well, there's a definition of junk in the ordinance, but is there some place?
RSA 236
No, where in our ordinance it talks about if and where a junkyard is permitted.
You're not.
They're not, period.
And it is in the zoning. Can't quote you chapter and verse. So, if he is considered a junkyard, then he has to go for a variance to that.
The definition of junk is old or scrap copper, brass, rope, rags, batteries, paper, trash, rubber, debris, waste, or junked or dismantled or wrecked automobiles or parts thereof, iron, steel, and other old scrap, ferrous, or non-ferrous metal.
Based on that definition, I'd say this is a junkyard.
I would agree. On the other hand, if this is going to take place inside, and you're basically recycling this, right?
Basically, yes, that's exactly what we do.
You buy it for one price, you cut it into pieces and sell it for another price.
That's exactly right. We clean it, we upgrade it.
What does that mean?
Meaning, like, say if you had a piece of copper pipe and a brass fitting, we cut the brass fitting off the copper pipe and then put the brass in the brass, and that would be cleaning it.
Does the definition, thank you, does the definition in the state statute help at all?
That's what I'm looking at right now, and you pretty much read it verbatim.
Oh, so we, got it. We copied it.
The only addition to that is, as used in this subdivision, the terms include but is not limited to the following types of junkyards. Automotive recycling yards, I could go on, there's about 3 or 4 pages here of definitions, but the 236:12, section I, junkyard means a place used for storing or keeping, and you read it
Okay.
earlier.
But he's not storing and keeping.
What we need to do is to see,
Or storing and selling, trading, or otherwise transferring old or scrap material.
Yeah, this book doesn't have a definition of the old book, did it?
but no,
But anyway,
what is the language in our ordinance that talks about junkyards. This is clearly junk, but it may not be a yard.
Craig, in the red book, page 178 has that definition.
No, just one for it.
It's in one of those odd places in there.
Page 178, first paragraph.
Not in our book. It's in an odd place. It isn't like you assume that a rational thinking human being put it in order or something.
Thankfully, Google can search quickly.
What page, John?
178.
I mean, that's not this red book.
No,
No,
this red book,
Oh, that red,
that red book.
But
which I have.
what I'm thinking is this. My concept of a yard is an outside storage place. If he stores nothing, and I mean literally nothing outside the buildings, so you simply have a truck going in, a truck going out, and nobody sees what is happening inside the building, then while he's dealing with junk, it may not be a junk yard. Okay?
Yep.
Because I think the purpose of the ordinance was to protect the town from having acres and acres of junked vehicles visible, not just vehicles, but junk.
Yep.
Huge piles, like in Concord, it used to be Cohen.
Yep.
I don't know if it still is.
Now it's Snitzer or
Whatever.
Rise or something
And they used to have a
like that.
huge junkyard there, and the piles of stuff, and they had cranes with magnets, and they were moving it.
They're still there on Poplar Ave. They're just hidden behind houses.
I think there's junkyard definition here. The red book is assuming everything is outside.
So, but let's just see what our,
That's kind of how it reads.
where's the section that,
Yeah, that has to deal with motor vehicles, machinery, not just raw material like what are you talking about?
There's very little about non-ferrous metals what this gentleman's here for, very
Right,
little.
right.
Not even.
well, it
a
mentioned,
paragraph.
but the junk includes non-ferrous.
Yes. But the majority of this RSA is regarding automotive.
Yeah, automotive machines, machinery.
So,
Used parts, if he's selling used parts, is parts, but he's not selling used automotive parts, he's selling his,
He's not selling them as automotive parts, he's selling it as scrap.
right.
Yeah.
here,
Page,
page 9,
yes.
3-9.
I just want myself.
Junkyard shall not be a permitted use in any zoning district in the town of Weare.
Now we gotta decide if he's a junkyard.
I think I just stated my view. If everything is inside, it's not a yard.
That's a very fair interpretation, that's how I'd do it also.
How big a building are you gonna have there?
It's the building that's already there for now. It's, I don't know, it's like 60 by 100 maybe roughly. There's two buildings actually.
Huh?
Frank Burrows.
Yeah, I just never.
Which one?
Never pictured a very big building there, but I guess I never looked.
Just over the truss bridge,
Huh?
That went by the front
just north of the truss bridge on the
I
right,
think it's
We're a
right about,
trucking company, you've got a
can't be a hundred.
good-sized Quonset house.
on River
Yeah.
Road, truss bridge with the two trusses
Big
on
building.
it,
Oh, this is going down, okay.
north one.
Yeah, so it's way before Mount William.
Oh, yeah, it's before that bridge. If you get on the dumper at Rockland Road,
And you're planning to expand it?
Not for a while. I mean, I just was gonna keep it the way it is till I get going, and then eventually,
Are the buildings tall enough so
Yeah.
that you can work machinery inside?
yep.
I think the only way to get around the definition of junkyard is just to make sure everything stays indoors.
Right.
Are you planning on doing any operating outside of the building?
The only thing it would be is dumpsters when we haul the stuff out.
What do you mean?
Like if we have, when we take the stuff out of the building, we'd have to put the stuff in the dumpster and we'd have to unload it from outside.
Why can't you load it inside?
It's just too small for that. You know, by the time you get like a forklift, you back up to the door, you're gonna just pick it up and put it on a truck and send it out.
You put it on pallets,
But usually it's like a Gaylord, like a big box with a pallet.
and you dump the box into the dumpster?
No, well, it all depends. It all depends what we have. If it's wire or whatever, some of it we dump into the dumpster. Some of it we just, we'll ship it onto a box truck.
And the box truck is outside too?
The box truck would probably be outside. We'd have to build like a type of ramp to get a fork truck in it.
Are you gonna have any outdoor storage while you're waiting for a truck, for delivery, or to make a delivery?
I would say not, but eventually, like obviously everything by the time nighttime comes would absolutely positively be indoors. But there'll probably be a dumpster outside.
Empty
Yeah.
or full?
Most of them would be empty, but they'll be full when we go and pick them up and send it out, or on a truck.
How many dumpsters are you talking about?
Maybe 2 or 3.
Even with that, if you look at, most of this does talk about automotive junkyards. The exception is when they talk about machinery junkyard. And if you look at Roman numeral 2 for machinery junkyard, it doesn't fit here. It means any yard or field used as a place of storage, yard or field that is used as a place of
Right.
storage, in which there is displayed to the public view junk machinery or scrap metal that occupies an area of 500 square feet. So I can't foresee a couple of
Dumpster's a lot
dumpsters.
smaller, 500 square feet.
Right.
As long as
So,
nobody sees what's inside of it, it's,
But if he heaps the dumpster and there are 3 of them side by side, and if people go by, that's gonna look like junk.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but keeping it's not advantageous because you could have to knock it back down to transport it.
Absolutely, and then there'd be a DOT issue, and it'd go on the highway and kill somebody, and then I'd be in jail.
Does
I wouldn't even-
do dumpsters have covers?
Yeah,
Are they open top or closed top?
most of our stuff is open top,
Okay.
but I mean they make a plastic cover and a steel lid that'll slide. Or if a dumpster's a problem, I mean we could get like a 53-foot trailer, unload a 53-foot trailer.
So that the only thing people would see going by is the process of loading the trailer.
Exactly.
Unless the trailer's backed up to the building and then you're not gonna see anything.
Right,
And that yard used to be full of trailers.
Yeah, there's always been trailers there, tip trailers and.
well, certainly if there were no open dumpsters, then I would agree, it's definitely not a yard. When you start having open dumpsters,
And even though it's clean metal, being next to the river, I don't think an open dumpster is a good idea anyway. Because you're gonna get rain washing through the stuff and carrying
That was,
contaminants.
that was my question. Is that in the Aquifer Protection District?
Oh, yeah.
Probably is.
As close as it is to the river, I would think so.
The river doesn't have anything to do with it, the gravel does, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
Guess it
surprised
was.
it is.
Well, we talked about alerting the
Just gotta go river land conservation, whatever it's called.
PR pilot or something.
Again, I think that's back to when he files the site plan.
if the stuff is stored in a trailer, and this is a covered box and trailer, doesn't that problem disappear?
Possibly. There's still gonna be leakage of some sort. Some. Maybe a gallon a month, but it's some.
Are these buildings cement floored,
Yes.
drains?
I'm not sure.
Drains can be plugged.
Trains are illegal,
That doesn't mean you're not there yet.
I know. Welcome to Weare.
No, whole buildings, they didn't used to be illegal.
They did it on Saturday.
I'll tell you, there'd be a lot less residues coming from that scrap than it will be running trucks out of there. If you ran 10 trucks out of there, I guarantee you the residue coming off those trucks would be 13 times worse or 50 times worse than a barrel of copper.
I
or
mean,
brass.
just the ordinary leakage of oil and,
Oh, I mean, when the rainwater hits the grease, and then every truck leaks, I don't care what truck you have, it all leaks, no matter what.
I don't disagree with you. I agree 100%.
Yeah. But I understand that's the way it is, I understand.
Well, would it help if the grade over there graded away from the road? Maybe it does anyway.
It doesn't, it grades down. It's, I mean, to grade it away from the yard, I don't even know how you do that. It's kind of like a slope.
It's graded towards the road or
It's
away?
towards the road.
It is graded towards the road, huh?
There's a hill in the back and then it kinda,
Yeah, it all just goes down.
My sense is if he filed a site plan that indicated all of the material that was outside, if any, was going to be stored in
in trailers.
trailers,
Top,
covered
with roof, you know, tops on.
roof trailers,
Yep.
and that all activities other than loading and storing these covered trailers was going to take place inside the buildings. And there were going to be no hazardous or other kinds of materials. So he said, for example, even a person giving a lawnmower is going to have to
Be
get
dry
rid
to
of the
get there.
gas and the
Right.
oil in it. I don't think that's a junkyard as we're defining it, and therefore it's not an improper use in that zone.
Yeah, but realistically speaking, anytime you have anything that you drain of oil, there's substantial residue left in it.
Yep.
I mean, I don't care if it's a lawnmower or an engine, it's always in there.
Well, that's why
So-
preventing rainwater from getting into it is critical.
Tom,
Yeah, it just, we're really talking about two things here at once. One is whether or not it's a junkyard, and then the oil issue, or
Yes.
the drainage of whatever comes off from it. But if you look at, again, this RSA that defines junkyard, and it divides it into three areas. Two of them relate directly to motor vehicles, which this does not. The other one is the machinery junkyard, and then it refers you to Roman numeral 3 below. And again, and I know I'm repeating myself, but you would, no matter how he stores this, you would have to cover 500 feet of storage area outdoors in order to qualify as a machinery junkyard.
But ours,
So, I'm not disagreeing with you, Neil.
Yeah,
It's
but that's a
fine
pretty
with me
small
if you-
area too, you know. 20 by 30 is 600. 20 by 20 is 400, so we're not, this room is probably that size.
Yeah, well, again, we're talking about the size of the dumpsters
But-
or whatever they put in there.
but remember that while our definition is related to the state's definition, it is our definition and it's more restrictive.
we don't have a definition of junkyard.
We have definition of junk,
Right.
and he's clearly dealing in junk.
If you're saying a junkyard has to be outside on a yard,
The concept of a yard, in the way I understand it, is something that's outside. You don't have an indoor yard that I know of.
I'm not gonna go there, but okay.
So,
I don't.
I'm just
think
thinking a lot of
I don't
backyards would
believe it's a
qualify.
junkyard myself.
so, I think with the right site plan, this would be an acceptable use for the site. And I think the
I think
cautions that folks are talking about in terms of the risk of pollution, I think your site plan needs to make it very clear how you're going to mitigate those.
Okay.
Having everything inside of a 53-foot box trailer would probably solve most of the concerns, I think.
Yes.
It might not be a bad idea to think about a concrete pad underneath the box trailer too.
Right.
Some kind of
Some kind
containment.
of containment, you know,
Yeah.
concrete pad and a little concrete curb on it, so.
Right.
How many loading bays are at that
This
building?
is two.
There's two?
Yeah.
What happens if there's a leak on the inside of the building? Accidentally, somebody forgets to do something and oil or gas or what, chemicals spill on,
I don't.
Ethylene glycol.
I don't use chemicals. I don't use oil, and I don't use gas.
no.
It's a-
But you take in a radiator and the guy swears it's empty, and it turns out it's not. You unplug it, or you do something to take it apart, and
I think at that point,
Antifreeze.
he can just throw some speedy dry down for that, if it's inside the building.
in other words, it wouldn't be a huge leak and wouldn't be a problem.
No.
It wouldn't be applicable. It wouldn't be for me to take that kind of material in. It would be just ruining everything I do. Why would I ruin my own property?
No, this was an,
Right. It
all I'm
just-
saying, it's a mistake. It's not that
Right.
you did it intentionally. The guy
Right.
thought he had emptied it and did a
Right.
poor job. You thought it was empty,
Right.
and so there's a spill,
Right.
Not just him, some employee.
or an employee.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Will you have employees?
3, hopefully.
So this is going to create 3 new jobs.
I would assume probably 3 to 6. I'm assuming.
Is there a parking issue there? No.
I don't think so, no.
Do you crush any, like a lawn, you said, you don't, are you actually gonna take lawnmowers in?
I kind of just use that.
I know,
As
yeah.
I really I don't need to. It's something, if you told me not to, I wouldn't.
Well, I wouldn't tell you.
You know, it's just basically copper, brass, aluminum, wire, truck rotors, you know, car rotors, drums, stuff like that. That's the stuff where we take it, we box it, we can separate it, and we can sell it.
So you will be taking ferrous metals.
A little bit, yeah, like iron, drums,
Yeah.
you know, right, exactly.
You must crush them though, right?
No, that's all. This is usually baled, if anything, but most of it stays in boxes.
Cut it
So you're
up-
not doing
cut it
any
up and-
crushing on site?
No, no crushing.
You just cut it up and bale it.
Exactly.
Wouldn't you want to crush it because it would save storage space, freight?
Yeah, but you can't crush iron. You can't.
You need such a huge crusher.
Number one, steel. You can't crush it. Cars in you know, a washer or a dryer, which is, I don't even really want to get myself involved in that, because that's the stuff that you would take and dismantle and crush and make noise and then create all kinds of problems. Because if you take a washer, it has a little gear motor in it. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to drain any more oil out of that. And you know, then there'd be an excavator there with a grapple, and now we're causing more aggravation. It's just not. That's not the kind of business I want to run.
And make sure you put your hours of operation on the site plan.
Yeah.
The fact that there isn't going to be crushing.
Yeah.
What are your proposed hours?
Whatever you want me to be. I mean, I don't want to piss off. I don't want to aggravate the neighbors.
What are you thinking? What do you do now in Mass?
Well, where I'm at, like 6 in the morning to like 5, but that's a little different. I mean, I could do 7 to, but the biggest day is the Saturdays. Saturdays are our biggest day usually.
Because
Homeowners and people, like all the tradesmen, you know, cash their stuff in on Saturdays. It's always the biggest day on Saturday.
I think 7 to 7, no more than that.
We can worry about that when the time comes. He's not worried about it right now. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I would do whatever you'd like me to do, I would do.
Non-binding discussion. with
are there existing
limited detail.
signs on the property?
No signs, nothing.
Would you put up a sign?
I would put up a sign.
Does he include that on the site plan?
Yes. That's how this all started. You wanted a permit for a sign.
Yeah, I said, well,
Okay.
I said, no, I don't think so.
When it comes time for the site plan, I'd like to do a site walk and look in the building,
okay,
all over the place, just an FYI.
You currently own the building, yes?
yes. My wife does actually.
I hope you don't get divorced.
Yeah, you never know. She's been with me 23 years, so I don't know.
It's time.
Jeez.
A little pessimism there?
23 years of training down the tubes.
For her.
Shall we send them to do a site plan?
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's been a pleasure talking.
yeah, you also. Thank you very much.
Any
So
other
now, what do I do? Just put sign on site plan and hand it to
Yeah,
you?
I will get you a book, which we have just reprinted,
Okay,
of the site plan regulations. I would recommend that you hire a professional
okay,
to put it together for you.
Okay.
So that all of these, and I'll give you a copy of the minutes when I get them,
okay,
so you can address all of these issues with the guy that's doing your site plan, and he just gives us a piece of paper.
great,
Yahoo, we're in business.
excellent.
The only other thing I can think of real quick is buffering, some kind of visual buffer, a little bit of landscaping in the front, kind of screen it a little bit,
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could.
But
if possible.
it's not there now.
I know. I was asking.
Oh.
It says new in the
It's
the ordinance says
completely
new
new use
commercial.
than what was there before.
It says new commercial or industrial activity.
Does it have to be a vegetative area, or can it be like just a fence?
Junkyard
I'm
requires a
I'm
fence.
open for suggestions.
Not,
Not
well,
a junkyard.
Just some kind of visual barrier, that's, I mean,
That's that fence I was talking about.
it could be the fence,
Something is
could be
static.
some trees.
Okay, I got you. Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
People are gonna wanna do business with you because they like the way it looks.
Well, absolutely, I mean, that's, the way you present yourself is what you get. I've been through it, I owned a waste company for years, I've done this for years.
So I can bring in a load of aluminum wire,
Yep,
got coating on it.
yep,
You take it, you weigh it,
pay you and bail it.
but you don't take the coating off the wire.
No, well, sometimes it all depends on where the market is. If the market was like really high. And with the place, we usually sell a lot of metals to Fortune Metals in Rhode Island. That's basically where we sell it. If it didn't go to Fortune Metals with the prime in New Jersey and the market went really high, we have a wire stripping machine to take that off. But it's very highly unlikely. But I would say we would do it. I'd like to do it if I could do it.
If the market bared.
Exactly. Most of the time, it's cheaper and less effective, more effective just to bale it or box it and sell it.
Explain to me why Weare is a good location. I know that most of the recycling places that I've seen are located in cities, on the outskirts of cities.
Well, Snitzer is closed a couple locations around here. And I just think there's a lot of, traffic down Route 77. I get the property from my friend Frank, which was, it was somebody that I met. It was a good deal for me to buy the property. And I figured, well, why can't I do something like that here and get all the tradesmen from all the little towns? And, there's a lot of business out here. You have to bring it to Boston or, if you want to get good money for it.
Isn't Union Waste in Manchester still in business, or did they go out of business?
They're
out of business.
Yeah.
Snitzer, the big one around here, closed down 4 facilities just in this area alone. A friend of mine runs a transfer station in one of the neighboring towns, and I told him of this, and he is really looking forward to it, because he can now not drive half hour, 45 minutes to deliver some copper when he can just drive right down the road. So
Exactly. That's basically
Okay,
one of the reasons.
great.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Now, the next case, I guess, under the term of conceptual, I think George is just looking for wisdom. George Merrill is back. He's got copies of his application. And I believe copies of his property card. And this is the latest subdivision plan. That hopefully everyone can share.
We've been here.
Don't you have one of those? You're supposed to come prepared. Didn't the good sisters of charity teach you that? While they were drumming mathematics into your head? King River Road, where is it? What?
By the fire pond.
Yeah.
As you're going down, you get to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
If you're coming from Goffstown, you get to the very top of the hill.
Yeah.
And you start down the other side.
So
There's a
before
little
Mount
fire
Williams.
pond. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
Before,
little fire pond on the left.
Yep.
It's right there.
Okay.
before Mount,
William. If you're coming from Goffstown from south to north.
We walked this. Neil was at the sidewalk, wasn't he? Yeah.
And here is the, everything you ever wanted to know.
what's the issue?
Driveway application, minutes of the meeting. That
What-
says
what-
you
what-
and
what
I
is the-
went to see Bill Drescher.
What is the questions?
Pardon?
What is the
He
question?
wants to know how we can get in there.
Driveway.
Can someone just quick recap for
Shared
me?
driveway.
Because I wasn't on board at this time.
Nor I.
Quick recap, this subdivision was approved in, I don't see a date offhand.
2001. At least that's when the plane's dated.
You have frontage on River Road, don't you?
Yes.
So,
There
Here
was
are
a-
copies of
There was a
the
subdivision of the previous subdivision, you can see the dash lines had a road going through
Going through here, I think.
for
you're talking about.
Tom and John. You can see the dash lines, it says lot lines to be eliminated, there was a little dash
yes,
road through there.
Yeah.
William Bover had a subdivision approved the road through there. He kinda roughed the road in. It appears that he abandoned that idea and went to this plan after he sold off the first lot.
Which lot has been sold?
At this point, 51-1,
Got
James
it.
Maria Semper. So when he sold, I believe, Mr. Merrill got lot 51-2, if I'm not mistaken.
So we're here tonight just for 51-2?
Actually, it's 51-3.
That was, after I said that, I think it's 51-3, yes. Because 51-2 is where the existing driveway is.
The driveway is existing in 51-2.
Yes, 51-2 has a house on it.
Is this the one where that driveway meandered and then we got to the hilltop?
Yes.
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, I remember that. Okay.
When Mr. Bover sold it to Mr. Merrill, when he sold the deed to lot 51-2, he reserved the right for an access easement in his deed. So when Mr. Merrill bought 51-3, he got an access easement through 51-2. However, this plan is not approved as a shared driveway. Chip and I met with Mr. Drescher. To make the long story short, if the subdivision wasn't approved as a shared driveway, you can't make a shared driveway. So he can't make a shared driveway. Therefore, he has to come off his frontage on River Road, which is basically very, very difficult, at the least. It drops down from River Road 10, 15 feet.
Probably more than that.
I was taking a guess, I don't know. It
Yeah,
drops down.
and there's a
River Road
stream
drops
at the
down, it
bottom.
goes right back
Big
up.
big wetlands crossing, and then
Yeah.
right back
Yeah.
up.
How about a bridge?
Yeah.
Bridges are expensive.
So,
I'll let George explain now.
What's that?
No, let George explain his case now.
Yeah. I mean, he already knew all that.
Yeah.
That was for Tom and John's benefit.
Originally, it was the hydrant that was the problem. All I had to do was fix that, which was never properly deeded from the town to the town from Bovier. That was the issue when I first came in. That was the only issue. And that was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I've owned it that long and been paying taxes on it ever since. And come to find out, I wasn't the fourth lot, which triggered the cistern to be working, or the dry hydrant. I was the third lot. I did go ahead and get a septic design approved by the town before it went to the state. And there's been 3 years gone, so I had to renew it. I did get the bed bottom before fill inspected and proceeded to put fill in there. And so it's ready to receive the rest of the material on top. But the driveway was the issue. And I think I've had the fire department out there, and quite a few people have been there looking at the driveway at one point. And it was at 16% grade at one point in one section. I did rework that one section and got it down to about 11. And since then, I've had Mike Dahlberg go in and redesign it, and he's got it down to 10 and a half,
Using the shared driveway.
using the shared driveway.
So what,
The problem that basically exists is that there was an error made at the time of an assumption that the original Bovier deeded access right-of-way could be used as a shared driveway. That was never approved, and subsequently, because of all these problems with the driveway, it was sent out for legal opinion. The legal opinion was that the driveway could not be used as it was designed because it was a right-of-way, and in order to access the lot, it has to be accessed from the road the Class 5 road that it was subdivided from.
From the actual frontage, right?
From the actual frontage. So George is now stuck, and on his behalf, he's got a road roughed in, he's got a septic system. It's a nice lot, he just can't get there.
if he come in with a 2-lot plan with lot 2 and lot 3,
Do you own lot 2?
no,
No, I do not.
with a shared
That-
driveway shown on it,
But the owner of lot 2 is not willing to do that, my understanding.
Say again?
The owner of the house, the owner of the house is not willing to come in for application for shared driveway.
In his deed, it so states that,
Yep.
I have a right-of-way through there
Yep.
to be used as a driveway to access, re-enter, and all the legal language, so that they do know that.
Yes.
Yeah, but we've been told that that's not legal.
But
Well, he can access it, that means he
Yeah,
can take it,
access it, but
he can
you can't use
walk
it.
up
the
there.
right-of-way is legal,
Yes,
Yeah,
maybe
you
not
can-
in your term as far as,
You could walk up there,
you can take your,
you can have
you can take
picnics
your
up
truck
there,
over, you take
you
your
can drive
excavator,
up there.
but you can't put a house up there.
but you can't use it for a
You can't
driveway.
use it for a driveway. You can put a house up there, it's a buildable lot. You just gotta get to it some other way other than that access.
But it's legal as far as he and I are concerned, because it's a registered document,
Yes,
as far as
Yeah,
To
you have
you-
the right to pass over.
to use as a driveway, construct, yes, that's what it says in the deed.
You have a right, as far as he's concerned, to use it as a driveway. You don't have a right, as far as the town is concerned,
right.
to use it as a driveway to qualify lot 51.3
But if he,
as a buildable lot.
but if he,
The other issue is going to be, eventually, and I know that's everything to do with Mr. Merrill, but that same restriction with the right-of-way is going to, more than likely, Mr. Bogart is gonna try to access 51.6 and 51.7 through that same.
yeah, but they weren't shown on this plan. That was something that was done by deed only.
Correct. I know, that's the issue.
So, but if,
The planning board never approved a shared driveway.
right. But at this point, for those two lots, I think we could approve a shared driveway with a plan showing that shared driveway on the plan.
I thought Drescher said that we couldn't, it had to be a re-subdivision or
You have to
something.
do a new subdivision.
Well, you can come in and do a lot line adjustment, move a lot line and trade 2 square feet, and technically you're doing a lot line adjustment,
Right.
according to a new plan and doing a shared driveway.
And that, I think, would be negotiation with the people that are living there.
I have not met him.
And they're new. I know the last people that lived there were not in favor of that. And I think that was because they were trying to sell it. But it has been
They-
sold, and you may want to just knock on their door and say, hi, this is what's going on in my life, and
I have left a business card in their mailbox. I did that at Memorial Day, and left a note on it saying, any questions, please call.
you know,
And-
I think you gotta go talk.
Yep, but I just don't like walking up to somebody's, I've got to get the telephone number and call them first. The previous owners were not aware that that right-of-way existed until they were at the closing table. That's why they were so upset. But they could be upset with themselves more than anybody else,
Mhm.
more than me.
I don't blame him for being upset, but
And the new owners, since the new owners have bought, I have talked to the previous owner, Bill Duguay, and first thing I asked him, are the new owners aware of he said, oh, yeah.
no, I'm sure they are, because of what the activity you've
Yep.
done over there,
Yep.
they're bound to be aware of that.
And I went up there a couple weeks ago, Memorial Day weekend, and he has wood on the right-of-way, but it's piled in such a fashion it does not block the right-of-way. So he's,
I've met, and I can't speak for other people, and I can't say
Yep.
whether they would be agreeable to this, but, a letter, phone call, something.
Yeah, yeah.
Open some dialogue with them, because if that can get done, it appears that these gentlemen would be willing to do a lot line adjustment, and then you
And
could
it can
have
be very minor. I mean,
driveway.
just enough to qualify as a lot line adjustment to get you in here, that you can show that common driveway on.
but if it was a lot line adjustment, see, his driveway is far from my line.
Yeah, but you can just do a lot line adjustment up at the very corner, the very back corner, just enough to,
No, his question, I think, is different. Assuming everybody's in agreement, normally a shared driveway has to be some on each property, right?
no,
No,
not
not
at all.
anymore.
Not anymore?
You can do a lot line adjustment, basically give him 100 square feet, or,
Yeah, you both have over 5 acres,
yeah,
so
I
you
was
meet the
gonna say, you give
zoning.
him 0.15 acres, so you're still over 5 acres, so you don't need state subdivision approval. You can basically give him some land, and then that would be a lot line adjustment application, come in for a shared driveway at the same time as a lot line
That would
adjustment.
qualify you for shared
Right,
driveway.
you're sure that a lot line adjustment qualifies for shared driveway?
It's a subdivision.
According to Mr. Drifter, yes.
I need an explanation, I don't understand this. where would the lot line change what's there now as far as where the shared driveway would be?
It wouldn't.
I think he's talking like up here
The
somewhere.
reason for the lot line adjustment is just to get an application in front of us.
In order to consider it.
Yes.
And other
No,
than
in
that,
order-
nothing changes.
No, in order to allow the shared, to create a legal shared driveway.
It has to be done at the time of the subdivision. So the lot line adjustment, wherever they did it, would qualify him as a subdivision.
And the easiest place would be like up here at the rock wall in the back of the property.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Give them a little triangle in the back. If you're doing lot line adjustment, partial A becomes part of lot
A
three.
little zigzag or something, everybody keeps the same square footage.
And that gets.
Because the only applications we can receive are conditional use,
And that gets you.
site plan, and
Mhm.
subdivision. We can't come into the conditional use because it's not allowed use on the subdivision.
Right.
And so there's no other application for us to look at. It was a lot of talk with Mr. Drescher.
I remember.
Well, then, suppose this works, the driveway is no issue any longer? We don't know that, do we?
Well, he needed a conditional use permit for his 10.5 or over 10%.
You can't reopen one of the other applications in order to reconsider?
No, because now you have one, two, at least 3 different owners, 4 different owners.
And you can only have two houses on the common driveway anyway, so he really only needs to do what the one he's sharing the driveway with.
So this proposed shared driveway, is it gonna meet driveway standards?
And you said it was a 10,
Conditional
10,
use.
10.5 or
10 and a
11%.
half, so we need conditional,
But it's not so far out that it's impossible. 10.5 is
A lot more reasonable than what's there.
16.
A lot better than the 16 we saw, yeah.
Which he could apply for at the same time that he did the subdivision.
Right.
I would like to see one thing at a time. Because down the road, if for some reason I sell this lot to somebody, then they may want to build a house down, like Neil suggested a year ago, down so that the driveway wouldn't be so long or so steep. And that would be entirely up to them. I would like to attack just one thing at a time,
Well, you kinda
which would be
can't.
the shared driveway. But
You can't.
Yeah, you can.
No. If he gets, if,
Come in for a lot line adjustment and do it, get the shared driveway.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
it.
But he doesn't wanna show you the driveway.
pardon?
Yeah, he does. It's straight.
Yeah, but he said, what if somebody doesn't wanna build there and they wanna build down there? Then he's
Well, they're gonna
got this
build down here.
driveway coming up like this and he's making a loop to get
No,
back.
he's
No,
gonna
no,
go right here.
no.
He's not
All,
gonna
all
build
you're doing is building right near what Billy had suggested for a right-of-way.
You don't have to build a driveway, George, just get it approved.
No, I agree.
Right.
But the house could be anywhere.
He's not gonna build up against River Road.
Wait a
He's
second.
gonna build a
I know.
driveway
If-
that's across the road.
if he obtains a shared driveway permit, the way we're talking about, but he doesn't, at the time he gets that, indicate where the driveway's going.
He would have to show
Okay.
us, he would have to
So
show
at
us,
some
he
subsequent
would
time,
have to show us where the shared driveway part is.
yes, and he
With meets
shows
and
it,
bounds.
and it's coming right to here. Where is it? It's coming right to here.
Correct.
From his lot line, he shows nothing.
Right.
We can approve that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a year later, he comes back and says,
Because that shared driveway is less than 10%.
right, but a year later, he comes back and says, I want to put, or somebody comes back and says, I want to put a house here or here. When they go to chip, do they need a driveway permit?
Yes,
Even though,
yes,
Yes.
which they will not get if it's over 10%.
Then they come for the conditional
Then
use
they gotta
permit for
go
that
for
part.
conditional use and back before the water fire ward.
so,
You can either do it all
with
at
a shared
once or-
driveway, you don't have to show the entire driveway.
You gotta show the shared portion.
Got it. Thank you.
There will be, you will need meets and bounds, bearings distances on the shared portion.
Say again?
You will need, on this lot line adjustment, if you do go that way, you'll need to have bearings and distances on the shared driveway. An easement, obviously. We've been requiring them, what's it called? The mutual shared
The hold
drive.
harmless.
Yeah, the hold harmless for us, and also how who's gonna take care of the driveway?
The driveway agreement.
Yes, the driveway agreement.
In that agreement, the original deed, it says that any construction on that lot, any damage to the driveway, is to be shared equally. This was,
This one goes a little deeper than that.
It goes a little further than that, yeah.
pardon?
It goes a little further than that.
It does?
Yeah, I'll show you a copy of it
Okay.
if you stop in someday,
Mhm.
other than tomorrow.
It's not a huge
So
deal.
you're saying the owner of this lot is responsible for work done on that, 50% of the work done on the driveway?
Yes,
Once it becomes a,
once it's done.
once it's done, if he does this subdivision, then
maintenance.
both of them are required to maintain that.
Well, he uses it too. His house is up here.
But if, yeah, that's easy to say, but the guy is spinning up and down the road with his ATV for a while and washes out, you know, I mean, there's a problem there. Either from either lot.
Up to
Mhm.
where it's gonna be the shared driveway from River Road up to where he starts is already paved.
It's good and bad.
And the other thing is, somebody's still gonna have to fix that cistern down there, or I don't think the Board of Fireworks, and I can't speak for them.
But he said he's the third lot, not the fourth.
We're only the third lot.
The Board of Fireworks are the ones that are gonna approve the driveway. So you're gonna have to convince
So
them
you're saying once he
that
does
they
this,
don't want
these
that
become
thing there.
available?
Well, no, because we're gonna stop that shared driveway right there.
To me, that's an issue that should have been taken up years ago between Weare and the town. And it has not, and as long as,
You know, there's a lot of things that happened yesterday.
Right.
And if they were wrong yesterday and they're still wrong today, it doesn't mean that we will not enforce them today merely because we did not yesterday. If there is an error and the error is discovered, it needs to be enforced going forward as if it were correct.
and is it my responsibility to,
That's between you and the fire department.
okay,
I hate to say this, but it's not my job.
Okay.
It's
You really
enough
hate
of
to
my
say
job
You-
to get you
You
to.
really hate to say that?
Yeah, I do hate to say that. Because usually people that say that are willing to throw someone else under the bus.
You wouldn't.
I would not throw anyone under the bus. I'd rather hit them with a stick.
They can fall on their own.
That's the tip I know.
And then
Fall on their own.
then they won't feel the bus.
We have no beepers on our buses.
Well, that sounds more feasible than anything else.
The biggest thing is to contact your neighbors.
Yeah.
See if
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
if
and I
you
will.
guys can work out some kind of
Yeah,
agreement.
yeah.
And I think these guys will work with you, and I do whatever they tell
Yeah.
me
Okay.
sometimes.
Not often.
There's always a caveat to anything that I say. But you're closer than you were last year.
That's true.
The new
I'm
owner
older
don't.
too.
It was a 5-year-old.
These two lots, yeah.
And if you trade equal amounts of land, the lot sizes stay the same.
They both don't exceed the 5 acres, so they don't even have to be equal amounts.
Well, he falls into a new category once he gets less than 5 acres.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, I was
We
gonna
might
say,
want- yeah.
you're gonna wanna be, if you're trading land, where you're giving him tenth of an acre and he's giving you tenth of an acre, I'm gonna warn you right now, that could be a real pain with the mortgage companies.
Could be what?
A real pain with the mortgage company, because his mortgage company has to release the mortgage on whatever he's giving you.
Because the land is being changed, yes, I
And
understand.
that is,
I thought the deal was going to be
But if you're
that,
just giving them a small piece of land,
That's right.
it's a lot easier.
that if Mr. Merrow was giving .16 of an acre
And
to,
getting,
from 51.3
right,
to 51.2, leaving him with 5 acres,
Right.
he's okay,
yeah,
and there's no mortgage mortgage issue.
right.
it would be a plus for him and there would be no issue with it.
It would be, I've had several clients come back and say that
Yeah,
6 months later,
that's a
say
good
that
point.
the property didn't appraise, they haven't had to do, they couldn't do it. So it's just an FYI. I try to warn people about that one.
Any other thoughts?
Good luck.
I said, any other thoughts?
Good luck.
Good luck. That's a good one. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I need this stuff.
You want this back?
We had to subdivide, we'll have to get a mortgage on that. See?
Fire warden.
Really? Yeah. The secondary mortgage market wouldn't take
Want
it.
this back?
That was back when mortgages were,
I'll take care of it for you.
I don't know, 12, 14%.
Now, if he's not in favor of this lot line adjustment, then my options are just about back to where I was. But
Bridge.
Yes, Rich.
you'd like to spend money, that's all you like to do.
Somebody else's money.
No, he really
Spend
doesn't.
my money. Huh?
I said, no, he really doesn't.
There was a lot off 149 that had to put a bridge over Peacock Brook to get access to the lot. I don't know what it cost. It's a really nice bridge. It's a small one.
Yeah, just after the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that some people have literally built bridges to get to their lot.
I've
The
got a,
state can red list that one.
I don't think they red list private bridges.
I've got a piece of land in Goffstown that I have to cross,
River.
and I have put 2 sections of a bridge in at the tune of about $25,000,
How long is it?
26 feet across,
That's the length of the bridge?
and with a 6-foot leg on both sides.
Yeah.
These sections come in 5 foot from upstream to downstream, 5-foot sections. And it depends on who buys the land. If they want it for a private driveway, they can get away with maybe 2 more sections. If somebody wants to buy the land and subdivide it and put a town road in, then they have to put 4 more sections on. And I've done the 2 sections. And I have a temporary crossing there on steel plank with tractor trailers have been across with ships and logs and stuff. And it's held up fine, but, you know, you could never, so it's expensive. That's why I haven't gone any further, because it's, you know. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Subdivision regulations.
Not these,
Nope, not those.
subdivision.
Those.
Several renditions here.
Everybody got a copy of the E-loans and all
Ewan's?
Yeah,
Yeah, Chip handed them out.
we're talking about the little revised ones, huh?
This is the way he handed it out.
Your dresser emails.
And then Craig gave us his.
I thought you
Yes.
sent that to you,
No,
and CC.
he gave me a hard copy, and I don't know if I still have it.
Well, let me go see if I can find it. I put it somewhere one time.
Chip and I did meet with Bill Drescher a couple weeks ago about the vesting in section whatever that is. That's what I knew what section was.
I thought our vesting was in, the inappropriate place.
It is in the inappropriate place.
Oh,
It should be in subdivision site plan.
oh,
So while we're talking about subdivision, we met with Mr. Drescher about revising 2.5. And while we met with him, he typed up a whole bunch of legalese for us to stick in there. So that we can discuss the rest of what to put in there. But Chip's wanting to get the legalese. So he's,
so, you look at our subdivision regulations?
yes, I handed out,
All right, I thought you were looking at this.
I handed out 8 or 10 pages, no, maybe more than that. Just some bold. changes that I wanted to make.
I have a copy of it, Craig. Can I?
You can share
We'll
mine.
make a copy of it, Craig?
You want, who's this, or, I mean, Craig's copy or the original?
No, I have the original one right here in my book.
You can share
You
this
know,
with
look
me.
like
Craig's
this.
copy is.
You're looking
John
in,
volunteered.
Yes.
oh, you are.
Well, this is Craig's. This is not the book.
I got the book.
Right, but this is,
Right, this is
Yeah.
Craig's. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
I have both of them, but I need either one.
That's Craig's?
That's correct. That's correct.
Oh, I thought you meant I had
I
yours.
don't know.
No, no, no,
enough about it
I
to
mean,
make
that's my
educated
revision.
decisions, so
Oh.
I'm gonna leave it to the
I don't know if I
professionals.
have the new one or not. I got one.
You want a copy of the one that,
Actually, I
Craig
have-
handed out? I mean, Chip handed out?
Yes, please. I don't know if it's the same as this one or not. No, no, I left my dashboard, but it's a filing system, so I thought it was the right one, but it may not be. So basically, I went through where I had all my notes from the years. And just,
the bold language is a change that you're suggesting?
yes. And I crossed through what I was gonna take out. Like the definition of frontage, I think, is the first thing. Because basically, our existing definition does not include state roads.
Did you leave the old definitions in? Oh, okay, all right, yeah, you did.
Yes.
Right here.
So you're just adding in any public highway essentially, as opposed to just town and Weare roads?
Yes.
Why did you add the word bonded subdivision?
Because a road the road that's not completely built and you're asking for building permits on it is not a town road yet, but it would have to be bonded to get a building permit. And I obviously stole that from somebody else, I didn't dream up that language. That's why.
Otherwise, Chip can't give out building permits unless they've been accepted by the town.
Right.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of bonding.
Thank you very much. It's still warm.
So, as far as you're concerned, this is a technical correction. There's no
Yes.
policy issue here.
No, it's actually, the definition would match the policy. Right now, 'cause right now we do give out building permits on bonded roads. But but it's not a road yet. If you know what I mean.
Got it, okay. This sounds reasonable.
You give out building permits.
I actually stole that from 674-24, I believe. The next change I made was the definition of wetland.
So why'd you leave from zoning in there?
I don't know, I was wondering that myself, where'd that come from?
What zoning?
He added all the bold and struck out the entire existing
Oh,
ordinance
right.
except from zoning.
I just noticed that. I need to add more to that, but
Where did you get this definition?
DES.
Doesn't
No,
this,
I got that from 28.3 in the zoning. I'm sorry.
do we lose something, or does something change by eliminating hydric A and B soils? Do we lose,
Yes,
do we lose something by striking out wetlands as defined by the town of Ware zoning ordinance? In other words, does this change enlarge or shrink the area that would be considered wetland?
shrink.
Can you give us an example of,
Hydric A and hydric B, wetlands have to be hydric A or hydric B soils, but all hydric A and hydric B soils are not wetlands. Hydric B is poorly drained, hydric A is very poorly drained. You also have to have vegetation to be a wetland. So not all hydric B soils are wetlands.
That's also what
are there any
I-
wetlands that the
Right.
town of Ware defines as wetlands, excluding the hydric A and B soils, which you're eliminating by your definitional change? You've stricken the words, shall mean all wetlands as defined in the town of Ware zoning ordinance.
That's because I copied it out. What I typed is copied out of the zoning.
And it's,
So this
Right
is
straight
just
out of here.
making the two definitions consistent,
Yes,
but yet you said this was a broader definition,
yes.
and we can't do that.
We have two different definitions right now.
No, but I mean, these are regulations, and the regulations can't exceed the authority in the statute. The town statute is the zoning ordinance. If the zoning ordinance says A, we can't in the subdivision regulations say A plus B.
Why not?
Be-
Why can't the subdivision regulations be more restrictive than the zoning ordinance?
The-
Which is what they are right now.
I thought they were broader. If they include all hydric A and B soils, the regs are broader than the ordinance.
You got a hydric A soil, right?
Yep.
The vegetation that's wetland is in here. So this, for the state definition, is wetland, not this. By our definition, that's wetland.
But that's what our ordinance says.
The subdivision regulations, not the zoning.
So the zoning is consistent with the state,
Almost,
and the regulations are not consistent with either.
correct. I copied the zoning orders into my, what I'm proposing.
Wait a minute. We have, this document had what originally for language?
Starting with the word shall.
Okay, that was the originally in here.
Yes,
And you're saying there's also another definition in the subdivision
no,
regulation?
this is a subdivision regulation.
This is a subdivision.
In the zoning ordinance. You're saying there's another definition in the zoning ordinance,
Correct.
which he's copied here, so that the definition of wetlands in the subdivision ordinance and in the regulations is identical. Is that what you're saying, Craig?
Yes. I did this 3 months ago. I don't really remember everything I did real quick. But I wrote down 28.3 beside it, and I just looked at it. So yes, it's the same.
yeah, it's pretty much verbatim out of what's in DES subsurface.
Pretty much.
It's my understanding from what you just said that our current regulations are,
More restrictive.
no, our current regulations are different from the ordinance, broader than the ordinance, and I don't think we have the power to do that, which means I'm agreeing with you. I always thought that regulations couldn't go beyond the statute that created them, which is our zoning ordinance. Our zoning ordinance says whatever.
Yes.
And the regulations can't do a 180 on the zoning ordinance. If the zoning ordinance says 5 acres, we can't change it to 10 acres or 1.5 acres.
No, this is, what he's got here is verbatim of, right here.
Right.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that the current regulations are, I don't know, illegal, if that's the right word. And Craig is making them consistent and therefore legal by,
It's certainly confusing, whether it's illegal or not, I don't know, but it's certainly confusing.
this looks, to me, this is an improvement.
The wetland definition probably is a 1980s, 86, 87 definition. In the subdivision regulation. It's basically housekeeping.
Should we just, and, I don't know, at the end of that, should a reference article 28.3?
For what purpose?
Tie them together so people,
Might I just have it pointed
Be-
28?
well, because, well, the other reason is I think it lets us know if someone comes and they want to get a waiver for that. It's not waiverable because it's in the zoning, it's a variance request. Subdivision regulations are normally waiverable.
In that case, just take the whole thing out, right down as defined in Article 28.3.
Did I hear an echo?
Because, I mean, it's not something we can waiver, it's a zoning item.
I don't think we're gonna waive a definition of wetlands.
No, I'm just saying,
I understand.
because normally subdivision regs is something the planning board has jurisdiction to just waiver.
Well, it wouldn't hurt to leave it just as the way Craig has it and then add as defined in.
Right, yeah.
And then you've got the definition there, so you don't have to go look it up, but you tie it together by saying as defined in 28.
And that was all my suggestion was, just,
Yeah,
And if we're gonna tie one to that one, we gotta do the same in reverse, so this way, if we change it,
zoning would have to do a town meeting.
but it's something we ought to suggest, so if they change that, then they know that, hey, it's tied to something else that's pertinent. If you tie it one way, you should tie the other,
Yeah.
so they both match.
But you guys are the ones that change zoning, so when it comes time,
We can't do that till next fall.
someone just needs to remember to bring it up.
Next fall or this fall?
This one.
Okay.
This
Time
coming fall.
flies. Time flies.
Okay, moving on.
So what was it, 28 what?
3.
And then 26 is staying, correct? You really crossed off.
Yes. I don't know why I crossed that out.
I just wanted to check,
I don't know where the from zoning came from either, so.
just checking.
Let me ask you,
it's probably a
the
note.
28.3 in the zoning. This document is what now?
Subdivision regulation.
Subdivision regulation. So, you're saying that we're going to,
I tried to copy and paste this into the subdivision regulations.
Yeah, it looks like you did.
He wants to make the definition of wetland in the regs consistent with the
Okay.
definition
Right.
in the ordinance. Bottom of page 10.
Yeah, the page numbers might get messed up because I was adding things and then therefore the page numbers kept changing. But yes, it's actually
What section are we in? Because I'm looking at the original.
5.1A.
5.1 hearing procedures.
5.1A?
Yes.
Yes.
At 5.1A and 5.1B, the dates need to be reversed.
Yeah, I noticed that. But
I
what
just
you're
took-
doing is putting it in a certain, such a way that it applies to either, right?
I just took out the dates.
Right.
Oh, okay, I'm just looking at the original.
Yes.
Yeah, he's essentially saying that we had conceptuals at work sessions in,
It's been
no, right,
the board's policy since I've been on the board that if somebody comes into conceptual, it doesn't matter which meeting it is, you hear them first. Because we want to welcome people to come in conceptually.
Are we gonna do grammatical and spelling errors too, or?
We?
Yes, we,
Not yet, that's the final review.
okay,
You know what we can do?
no,
We can authorize
No.
John
no,
We could.
to make all grammatical and spelling
Yeah, we could.
changes.
Spelling police.
Bring the document back.
Yes.
So,
I could make a subcommittee of one. The grammatical police.
so 5.1A is, and B are okay.
They were okay with me. Everybody else
I,
agree?
I think it makes
I
sense.
just,
Page 15.
like I said, it may not be 15 anyway.
7.1, is it 2, the bolded language there, that's capitalized, or is it something else?
Before 7.
Oh, no, it's at the top of the page.
6.
Hang on
Point,
one
As amended?
6.1C.
hang on one second, I gotta change the battery. It's beeping at me. Sorry.
Adding the as amended.
I'm eyeing to myself. Yeah, I'm just adding as amended.
Okay, if you're gonna do that, you probably wanna put the
That's good. This is,
quotation marks on the outside of the word amended instead of after 1987.
okay.
So if the Army Corps of Engineers updated at 96, really? Quotation mark be after amended?
Well, the reason is that you're quoting a January 1987 document, and we're gonna get documents, as you said, 97, 2010, and so forth. So if you have as amended,
Okay, I believe you.
they would be certifying that this is the original January 87, as amended by whatever happened since then.
We don't want to use the 89 manual, I know that. Okay.
Now, just as a cautionary note, we basically are conceding to the Corps of Engineers the power to,
You don't want to know how many powers we've.
We don't have much of a choice,
why?
because they're gonna hold them to it anyway. Whether we make them or
DES
not.
is gonna, that's what DES is doing. DES is, Army Corps is all over the DES and wetlands. They're just going nuts. EPA, Army Corps.
So if.
We have to put that note on all septic plans we send into the state now for approval.
Yes.
So if the federal government is defining a pothole as a wetland,
Yep.
we're gonna go along with that?
We don't want
DES is
storage.
making us. You're in charge of them, Neil.
No.
You're in the legislature.
But why would we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want to say no, as well as have people in Concord say no also? In other words, if
Because we don't really have a say, because Concord is the one that approves the plans. If they have to review the plan, and it's their reg, take the,
so why do we need this at all in the ordinance? What goes before it? Let me just check.
Final plat requirements.
having some issues over there?
Yeah, the memory's going nicely.
if it's a 5 acre lot, it wouldn't apply, but anything under 5 acres, we have to take a DES approval. And the subsequent septic approval later.
I circled it on mine. The section says, all wetlands must be shown and delineated by either a certified wetland scientist or permitted designer. And then the seal and signature of the scientist or designer must appear on the final plat. Why do we need that section at all that says that note must appear? If
Don't you
the,
want to know what criteria they're using to delineate the wetlands?
but why
If you don't know
do,
what the what's needed criteria, it doesn't cut it.
why is that important for us if they've already had to go to the state and get a permit?
If the 5 acre lot, they may not have had to go to the state.
So even on 5 acre lots, we're requiring that they
If it's a lot that's got 5-acre lot with a half-acre dry land, absolutely.
If there's a 5-acre lot and we require to have and we don't waive wetlands, yes, we're gonna want wetlands flag for the state requirement. At least I would.
Okay.
I agree, I'm not happy with the Army Corps being under the thumb, but
Could we go back just for a moment to the changes we made as far as the dates of the meetings, the first or second one of the month? Because if this is the way people want it, it's fine, but if we don't specify at all, it means that the design review phase can be both the first or the second meeting of the month, which means it doesn't reserve us the time to do stimulating stuff like this.
no, because our regular meetings, I believe the regular meetings are in the bylaws in the front of this thing.
Right now, the first meeting of the month is either for conceptual or work session. And the second meeting of the month is for design review phase, correct?
No.
Not correct, okay.
Conceptuals and design review come in the work session.
Design review should come with the other one.
Well, the ones at the other one are usually the ones that have a butter notification.
But-
Design review has better notification.
But all we're doing,
According to the form, design review and conceptual are on the same form. Look on page 20. Oh, subdivision.
Yeah,
Okay, I was thinking site plan. Site plan, we only do conceptual and design review at the work session and leave the regular session for the nuts and bolts of business.
but doesn't the changes that Craig suggested give the board the option of when to schedule these things, as opposed to having it in the rules? In other words, you could set the agenda.
Yeah, if he takes it out, if you take the dates out.
Right, that's
you
he's
can go-
done.
You can go either or,
Right.
which at times we have to when somebody has been here under normal, large-scale subdivision plan and has been 3 months already. There's no sense making them wait another month. We put them in the work session. And by the same token, I don't bring people in for design reviews or conceptuals at a regular meeting if there's a lot of business to transact. They wait 2 extra weeks.
The point is, Craig's suggestion gives us flexibility.
Right, and I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, that originally, even though it never made it, the change never made it to this, but originally, sometime back, we put the major decision-making, design review phase or whatever, into that second meeting in order to let the Conservation Commission weigh in because their meeting was held earlier in the month. Before that, it was the reverse, like it was in here. And so we were seeing something brought forth before the Conservation Commission ever met that month. That's why it was changed. It changed but never changed as far as the,
we changed the policy, didn't change the
we
wording.
didn't change the wording, right? And again,
Yeah,
I don't wanna prolong it, if everybody's okay.
I don't have a problem with saying that's going back to the fourth Thursday of the month, I don't have a problem saying that. I thought it was in our bylaws, it doesn't say when, it says we have to meet once a month. You have to have one regular meeting a month. We have to have one work session a month. It didn't say when, I thought it did.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have a problem, I think it's probably a good idea to leave the fourth. Put that back in. It says, just change second to fourth.
Right, and leave the other one alone, because we can do the conceptual
Yeah.
on either.
Right.
Good, is there some language that we're changing there?
page 11.
Yeah, but what is it,
Under design review.
Yeah.
Where I struck out generally on the second Thursday of the month.
right,
Instead of striking out, change it to generally on the fourth Thursday of the month.
So is the other one going back to the second?
No, that one's just gonna leave it alone.
Leave that one
Leave it-
alone.
leave it alone.
why do you want to say why do you want that date in there at all? Regular meetings of the planning board is defined, as you said.
And it's not. I thought it was. It's not defined in the bylaws. It just said we have to meet once a month.
It says we have to meet once a month.
Yep.
So,
Doesn't say when.
why would you want to put in the regulations when we're meeting? Maybe we'll change it to Wednesdays.
Yeah,
We tried that, didn't we?
yeah.
Mon-
Surprised you're not
Sundays.
getting kicked right now.
you know,
Nice try, Neil. You were the one against that, remember, right?
you remember
Yeah, I
correctly?
knew I did.
Okay. I just don't see the benefit of specificity there.
I don't care, one way or the other.
No, and the only reason I brought it up is because of that initial change was made so that this would be handled on the second meeting of the month, whenever
You
that
have a
might
schedule
be, so
says
that
it's
the
at the regular
Conservation
meeting,
Commission
second
could weigh
meeting.
in before.
Let's leave it struck out, because Chip has a schedule that says the regular meeting is the second meeting.
It'd be a lot easier to change it at any point down the road if it wasn't in the subdivision regulations.
Yes.
We already changed it, it was in the subdivision
Yeah.
regulation.
Moving on.
Moving on, yeah.
So
Page
leaving
nine-
it strike
Leaving
out?
it struck, yes,
All that for that?
all after that.
This is section 717
Yeah, probably
on
not.
page 19.
8,
I just had a question before you move on. What were you talking about with the amended,
On page 15.
no, on page 15 at the top. What were you suggesting doing that?
moving the quotes from, getting rid of the quotes at the end of 1987 and putting the quotes at the end of amended. 8.1.7.
No, what about
I
7.1.7?
didn't change it.
You struck something
You
out,
struck
yeah.
something out.
I did?
Well, something struck out. All lots of new subdivision roads.
That's 8.
717 doesn't exist.
It's on the document that Craig gave us.
No, it's not. It's 8. You went from page,
Oh, I
15
see.
to 19.
Okay,
I saved paper, Neil.
got it.
Tried to anyway.
So this is 8.
The one that says 7, whatever the preceding number is.
It's 817. I didn't realize it was gonna be all this confusion.
Craig, could you explain what a block is? I know what it is in a city, but
No, I can't explain what a block is, but every town in the state has that same verbiage in it. And I never understood why. So I wasn't gonna go there.
Flanders and say, how about the block?
I don't know why we need that in here at all. Is there any town, any section of town that consists of blocks?
When we expand the village district, it might be.
So instead of making it cookie cutter, let's leave some discretion for some people.
thank you.
I've never known what it meant, and I've designed a lot of subdivisions, and I've never paid any attention to it, nobody's ever said anything to me.
I prefer to just strike that whole paragraph,
Well, not the,
that 7 part.
no, but don't you need all lots in a subdivision shall have frontage on a class 5 or better roadway?
No,
Yeah.
That's the definition of frontage. Well, maybe you do need that part. It's zoning. I don't think you need that either, I think it's zoning. We can leave it in there, otherwise we'll mess up the numbering.
Yeah, if you want to leave it in, just hold the numbering in place.
Yeah,
So taking everything out except for the last one?
leaving the last line, all lots in the subdivision shall have frontage on a class 5 or better road.
I like to go.
Frontage.
Left some imagination here instead of just coming in with these square friggin'.
The definition of frontage does not mention what type of road,
Right,
I was gonna say, we gotta,
you gotta leave that in.
or change 15.
We can just leave that sentence in there, leave that whole thing, just that one sentence.
Right. All lots of new subdivision road shall have a minimum of 200-foot frontage. By striking that out, what are you trying to accomplish?
I'm trying to, I don't know, but we have zoning with less than 200 feet of frontage.
Right,
A lot of it.
Because clusters?
10 acres,
Back lots,
10 acre lots only need 50 feet of frontage, clusters don't need any required frontage.
Okay, so let's assume we take this out as suggested. Does that mean that we've eliminated the 200-foot frontage requirement?
no, it means
No.
you have to comply with the zoning.
Commercial lots are different than residential lots.
Okay. Moving on to 9.
Maybe. Yes. It's tough to build a road to 0.5% grade. We have contractors that I've worked for that have trouble building a parking lot to 1% grade.
I think that 0.5%, you think that refers to the grade of the center line or the grade from the center line to the edge?
I think it refers to grade of center line.
Okay.
Why don't we put that in? Have a center line grade of less than 1%, if that's what we mean. Because I think the slopes on a road are more than 1%, I think.
No, they have
Or 2%.
2%.
Because there's a detail showing that someplace in the back.
Yeah, I think we should put center line grade.
So between the word A and the word grade, insert the word center line, unless it's one word.
I do it with a C and an L.
I wouldn't put it in there,
Why not?
because the grade of the street is along the center line of the street. You're not talking about the cross-section, you're talking about the grade.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's right, so if you put in a center line grade,
Oh, okay, you're talking about the first grade, not the second grade. You confused me.
no,
So you're
I'm talking about the second grade,
Why don't
or
you-
the third grade.
why don't you-
Who's on
So you're gonna start the sentence with the word center line, start the paragraph with the word center line?
No,
No.
no street shall have a center line grade of less than 1%.
The second sentence, where you have the
Why not-
1%,
Why not put it in the first one, in the beginning? That's what this
Yeah, if we
thing is
put it in the
talking
first one, then we can just leave out the second one, right?
about. Right,
So we're starting with center line
Yes,
grades.
yes.
I don't think it's necessary, but I'll go along with it.
okay. Then we have in 13,
Let me ask you, let's go back to 9 for a second here. You're talking at the center line, less than 1%, can't build a flat road?
No,
I'm not talking the crown now.
no,
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 not
crown is
talking
2%.
Oh, okay, all right,
That's why we put center line in there. It distinguishes,
okay.
so it's not the
I'm good.
crown.
13, why do you want to have,
75 degrees rather than 60?
yeah,
Site, trying to make the
Sight-
corner,
it's hard-
trucks,
It's hard to look over your left shoulder.
turning radius of
60
trucks.
In a 60-degree angle. Come out to 77 to one, the old 77 out to 114 and look left sometimes, it's not easy. With a hat on, I gotta put my window down.
you're definitely right right in that particular case, but we're not talking about major roads like that. We're talking about subdivision roads. And
Every intersection has traffic.
Yeah,
I understand that.
you still want to be as close to 90 as possible.
If, Bruce, 2 minutes ago, you said you wanted to eliminate a
Well,
section because
yeah,
it
but-
provided more flexibility.
But this flexibility here, I understand this point, because people are gonna get hit, kids are gonna get hit, pedestrians are gonna get hit, because people won't look over their shoulder that far to make a corner,
Or can't.
or
And,
can't.
As you get older, when you speak of flexibility, it diminishes. So turning that extra 15 degrees.
That's why Tom takes center woods.
On the other hand, we are losing flexibility in design for developers
No,
and for residents.
that's, everybody realizes that across the board. I mean, if they need to go in and turn a road, they can make the turn fairly, close to 90 degrees and go in and make a sweep right off the bat.
How about some language unless the planning board approves?
Well, this, being in the subdivision regulations as opposed to zoning, they can request a waiver. It is
Can-
waivable.
Is everything in here subject to a waiver?
With reasoning why, yes.
So if
We can waive the whole section if all the subdivision regulations we wanted to.
so on 13, if somebody came in and said, I really would like to have a 45 degree,
If they have a compelling reason, show us something
yeah,
that works.
they present the case. We have the, assuming they make the case, we have the authority to grant that?
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
it's subdivision. not-
So,
yeah.
in other words, we don't need to put the language I've wanted in here, we already have it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
Two.
One will do. Going back to 9, I'm just picturing, if you had a subdivision, you're building a road, whatever for reason, on a very flat piece of land, you basically gotta go, keep building 1% grades all the way across it.
Yep.
Would you tell me where and where you find a piece of land?
It's got-
Brookshire,
All you gotta do is get puddles in it. All it's
Brookshire.
gonna do is you're gonna get puddles in the road without enough grade to it. If you make them
Well,
flat,
I'm
they
not-
just puddle.
Even if it's
I'm not
crowned?
disputing that
Yeah.
that it's a good, I'm just,
Ice,
I never, no, and I mean, the 0.5% wasn't too, but the 1% would just depend on your, I mean, I suppose you could go 1,000 feet at 1%, just keep going uphill, or, yeah,
If you go into Brookshire, you go down that hill,
yeah.
you make the corner, and there's, I think, 3 1% curves, one, just before you get to the
Oh,
ridge.
no.
Intentionally built that way. And you think that's a good idea?
Rather than having a 0.5% and a bunch of little dips.
Because,
Because people can't build the 0.5%, you're gonna have low spots where you don't want low spots. And the water puddling. In the ditches, on the road itself. Because we just designed a site plan, and the pavement's supposed to slope 1% away from the building, and there's a puddle 20 feet wide in front of the building. The contractor flipping out, or the owner's flipping out. I can't help the guy can't pay a 1% slope, for 1% slope. It's tough with dirt. In 10 feet, you're looking for half an inch of change in elevation. Tough to do that with gravel.
but it's 1 foot and 100 feet.
Mhm.
Okay. Page 20,
What I'm calling page 20.
8.2, roadway design standards.
All I did was change the 0.5% to 1% again. We have a table. Obviously. On this page.
I'd like to suggest a change here, another change.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. I think we are designing our local and arterial roads to width standards that make no sense for Weare. They're more expensive, and I can think of a number of very small subdivisions that have basically boulevards. There's one on off 149 opposite Beaver Pond Road, Corliss Road. I think there are
Bruce
4 or
knows
5.
that one.
Hmm?
Bruce knows that one real well.
Did you build that?
yeah.
The idea that he had to build a 24-foot wide road to serve those houses
Full houses.
is insane. So what I would like to see, let me get my page 20. Where it says minimum width of 3-inch pavement, I'd like to see the minimum reduced from 24 to 16 for local roads, and from 24 to 20 for arterial roads. And then, although I understand that this may not be necessary, or is otherwise determined by the planning board, because there may be subdivisions where you in fact need a larger road, depending on a variety of circumstances. But I don't recall anybody ever coming in and requesting a waiver on this. They just do it. And we're raising the price of houses, we're raising the cost of construction to no particular benefit. The other change I'd like to suggest is that on the minimum shoulder width, collector roads should be 2 feet, and arterial road should be 3 feet. Again, subject to determination by the planning board, so that we set a minimum that is reasonable for the town, and yet give ourselves, in particular situations, the ability to say, wait a second, this subdivision with 200 houses or whatever it might be needs wider roads.
Well, I'll tell you now, there's another way to, well, you won't like it. Why not add bike path, and I will narrow the road up and put how do you call it, a bike path or a walking path? So we can take that 24-foot road and put a 6-foot travel way, let's call it,
Sidewalk.
Yeah, no, not a sidewalk,
No.
because that becomes another issue. If this 6 feet with a white line marked off can be plowed with a regular town plow. We don't have to have a sidewalk plow, and it can be for walking or riding or whatever. There again, it doesn't save them any money, but it creates a benefit to anyone who wants to use it, I guess. So you can walk the baby carriage down across there, or you can,
If a developer wants to do that and make that presentation to us, I think we should hear it. But I think that you want to keep the minimum at 16, rather than say somebody has to put in 24 and has to have a bike path, or whatever you're calling it.
Yep.
I'd like to leave it to the market and what the individual developer feels is appropriate for his or her subdivision.
well, it's usually monetarily driven. So,
Yes,
My concern, kind of going along with what Chuck's saying, but looking at it a different way, is, you know, as somebody who cycles a lot, you narrow down that road, you increase the chance of accidents. Or if it's a subdivision and you're talking about walking the baby carriage or whatever, and maybe you don't have to specify a specific trail for that, but if you narrow the road too much, it makes it more difficult for people who are using the road for something other than driving a car, and more dangerous.
and certainly in something like Duck Pond Estates, you might want to,
With a through road.
right,
As
you
opposed to a
might want to
cul-de-sac
do
road.
something on that, like that. But on many subdivisions, it wouldn't be appropriate. So,
Well, why wouldn't it be appropriate on, say, Brookshire, where people are down there walking around on the cul-de-sac? It's 20-foot wide, according to our cluster regulations.
but why not make it 16 or 20? And we might decide if 24 is more important. And Chuck, in this particular case, because of the, let's assume it's a condominium which is designed for young families.
Is Brookside 20 feet wide, Craig, or 24?
20.
And he did that because,
I thought it was in the cluster regulations, but I can't find it.
I'm kind of, believe it or not, Neil, I think 16 is a bit narrow, because cars are pushing 8, people are gonna hit mirrors. I think 20 is a real reasonable number.
Definitely with a pickup truck, you're smacking.
Well,
I was originally suggesting 14, and Craig twisted my arm and said, Neil, that isn't gonna fly. Try 16.
you gotta remember a parking space is 9 feet by 18.
Let me,
If people are driving at 35 miles an hour hitting each other, so you got a 70 mile an hour closing rate, I think 20 feet is a reasonable number.
2 tractor trailers meeting going off.
Well, not,
This
this
is in a
trailer's not gonna be
subdivision.
on the subdivision.
Moving trucks,
Yeah, you might get one.
U-Haul truck.
but you're
Yeah.
talking about a subdivision where people are generally driving more slowly because they're relatively small. Many of them, like Brookshire, the road is curving.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is something we want to encourage instead of,
Absolutely.
bowling alleys.
I agree with you, but I just think that the more discretion you give to the guys who are trying to conceive of this, I understand there's an economic motive, but we benefit from that also.
Yeah.
We're not
Trying
trying
to
to create
maintain it,
expensive
yeah, but-
housing just because the town wants a certain amount of infrastructure that may not benefit anyone. And again, if this is the minimum, it tells people that they may have to put in a wider road if Chuck or Tom or you, in a particular instance, say, this is a large enough subdivision so that there's going to be enough traffic, so you really need that.
it's gonna be a tough sell when you tell them that.
So,
The regulations,
let me ask you this, if you drop this down to, what did you propose, 18?
16.
As minimum, do we as a board have the authority to say, for what you're doing, 16 is not wide enough, you ought to make it 20?
Correct.
Do we have that authority?
That's why I would put in language, or as otherwise determined by the planning board.
What's that, are you familiar with the DOT manual at all, Craig?
I have a copy of that somewhere.
State DOT.
Or other
No.
towns do. For example, I'm thinking of a beautiful subdivision over in Hopkinton that I bike through sometimes. Hopkins Green, do you know where that is? It goes.
That's one at the other end of the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I never got off the bike and measured it, so I don't know the width, but looks pretty good. And I don't know if it, I
Do
don't
you
know if
weave a
that's,
lot when you're biking? Or?
do I weave a lot?
He's got this,
Depends on where I'm
flexibility
coming from.
problem.
Bob and
so-
weave.
Well, downtown Concord has created a bike path on Main Street.
No, we aren't gonna do that.
No, I don't, I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah, but they also had funding for that.
I'm just saying that, what do other towns do? Do they have this variable width, or do they have a standard that they stick by for subdivisions?
And I think we almost need to generate a variable width based on traffic count.
Well, there is,
Number of houses?
there is some of that here in the Southern New Hampshire
Just
planning.
number of houses, if it's a through road, if it,
Okay.
10 houses, it could be the same, in fact, as 50.
I was actually looking for what Neil was just mentioning is quite a few years ago, I got something on this. Yeah.
I got something from 2009 from Southern New Hampshire, and it's called Alternative Geometric Roadway Design Standards, Low-Volume Residential Streets.
That's what I was looking for. I didn't find
And the table, 1 to 50 vehicles per day, 51 to 150,
Yeah.
and so forth. And design speed, 20 miles an hour, 25, 30 miles an hour, whatever it is.
Yep.
Minimum right-of-way width, and,
Which is the same across the board,
yeah, 50 feet, but where's the road?
right here.
18 feet with
18
2-foot shoulders
Yeah.
for the low number of vehicles, 20 feet 2 with a higher number. And there is
What's-
also,
What's the 50 to 100?
50 to 100 was 20 and 2. 20-foot pave,
50
Plus-
to 150.
51 to 150 vehicles per day. And what I don't know is whether that is trips per day.
It's 6 houses. 5 houses, you get 10 trips. One house is 10 trips a day.
Is a trip out in one trip and a trip back is a second trip?
Yes.
Okay.
So each house gets 10 trips a day. Believe it or not.
So
I
10
thought it
trips,
was more than
that's
that. That's
15
what
houses then,
Yeah.
essentially.
Well, if you use that kind of criteria, then you're not being arbitrary.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're not saying, well, no, guys, you gotta do it this way, no, guys, you can do it this way. Because you've got something specific to go by, the number of houses on a given road, which
I
creates
kind of like this.
trips.
to be honest with
And there's another one, and I apologize because I don't have the source, but it says for minimum width of lanes and shoulders for rural local roads. ADT is the number of trips. For 0 to 25, and if the road is designed for up to 30 miles an hour, 7 foot wide with 0 shoulders. If it
you.
is
That's per
average
lane- That's per lane, right? Yeah,
per lane,
yeah.
so 14.
Yep.
If it's between 25 and 50 trips, it's 16 with no shoulders. 50 to 100 is 18 feet with no shoulders. Again, this is 30 miles.
Right.
100 to 400 is 18 feet with 2 feet shoulders, and so
The
on.
roads in Europe.
So, and then I've got one from Vermont, and there's no table there, and I don't. Oh, here it is.
This brings-
18, 1 to 50 vehicles per day is 18 feet with 2-foot shoulders. 50 to 150 is 20 and 2. So that's the same as the Southern New Hampshire planning. What else do we have? And here's the town of Trenton, Maine has subdivision regulations where they have the exact table that Tom is talking about, where it talks about the number of trips, the grade, the vertical clearance, how wide the shoulders have to be, how wide the paved way has to be. Their narrowest is 14 feet for low-volume rural, and I don't know what the heck VU is. And it goes up to 16 feet for 1 to 50, 18 feet for 50 to 100, and it could be up to 24 in one case. In other words, you can pick your table and you'd get a set of standards. So if you wanted to put in a standard as opposed to, say, as determined by the planning board, I suppose there's some value to that. Bedford, these were, I think these came from Bedford and Amherst. Anyway, although I mentioned some specific numbers,
Bedford's 24 everywhere.
my concern is that we not have a cookie cutter town with all the roads, regardless of circumstances, are the same width.
Right.
They don't,
They don't plow them full width.
and I
we don't
I've been
follow
to,
with.
I've been to some very different communities in Connecticut, and some of their roads, this is in Greenwich in one case, I bet it's 12 feet, the whole road.
Well,
It's a
when you-
one-lane
When
road.
you narrow it up, you slow the traffic, it slows traffic down.
Right, and this was rural, you know, and these were very nice homes, as you would imagine.
Well, yeah, but are you talking a newer subdivision, you talking?
No, this was a town road. This is
Well,
not a
okay.
subdivision road.
I can show you a town road and Weare, probably about the same way, and it's dirt and gravel, and it goes right by your house.
Right, I like it. Except it's not that narrow anymore. But
Growing.
But it seems to me that we shouldn't have a cookie cutter approach. And what I'm suggesting is that we give some consideration to this. I'm not gonna push anything tonight. If you guys want me to, I'll try to do some more research and come up with some particular standards like the table Tom was talking about.
I think we need that. If we're gonna vary it, gotta have something specific so that we're not being arbitrary, because arbitrary leads to legal action.
Right, I mean,
Fair enough.
you know, this standard we have is 500 trips a day is the breaking point. I mean, there's definitely a lot smaller subdivisions where you get a lot less than 500, so you can add another category for those.
Okay.
If we do the 2-foot shoulders like some of those had recommended, that would not solve it, but it would help alleviate the people want to walk on the side of the road, the bicyclists.
2-foot shoulder?
2-foot shoulder? I don't
believe
think
that's
you
what it said. It's better than the 2 inches between the white line and the gravel right now.
But I don't think bicycles can ride on those shoulders unless it's a mountain bike.
When you're talking shoulder, you're talking about the gravel. I think you're thinking.
I'm thinking paved.
paved.
No.
No, these are-
Different.
These are gravel shoulders.
Okay.
Well,
I think, personally, I think a 2-foot shoulder is too small. I mean, if you, and the only reason I'm saying that, you look at all those roads town has rebuilt in the last however many years. I live in Abijah Bridge, so Abijah Bridge Road would be down to Flanders, more down to Flanders, Hodgson, over, and just about all of them are cracking right
Yeah,
because
you're
right beside
leaving.
the shoulder, because there's no shoulder.
You go up to Sugar Hill Road,
Mill is
which
2
was
feet.
paved just a few years ago, and you'll see the edges are all like this, cracking up.
They're all cracking
On
up.
one side, they're starting to come off, just before you get into the Hopkinton line, but on the other, it's not gonna be long. And that's,
Why does that occur?
well,
Because
it's because your shoulders aren't holding up.
you're losing compaction, because your shoulders,
Is that because the shoulders are faulty?
None of strength,
not,
there's none of structural strength left in the material, enough material there to leave enough structural strength to carry the weight of the trucks that are right
So
on there.
if your shoulder is too narrow, then you're not able to create that same structural strength.
Right.
Are roads ever built so that at the edge, instead of just having 3 inches and then gravel, they build a downward berm,
Yeah,
so to
there's no
speak?
structural strength in asphalt whatsoever,
And that wouldn't prevent the cracking?
no. No, you need to keep the material, the gravel from mushrooming out, which is what happens when you only have a little tiny shoulder. The last 2 feet of the shoulder, if you have a 4-foot shoulder, the last 2 feet, they don't drive on. But right off the edge of the pavement, you'll see tire tracks right off the edge of the pavement for a foot all the time.
that's the cross-section with the shoulder right.
Well, look, when you're considering this,
See,
a couple of things I'd like you to think about, Pete. We had a young lady in here from Southern New Hampshire Planning
Correct.
talking about bike paths and so on. It's the perfect opportunity to implement what she was talking about. Number two, you know, I do ride bike a lot, and I can relate to unsafe. 114, most of it is unsafe. So is
77
East Road. I see, every road we have in town is basically unusable. And I see people out walking, we don't have too many babies around anymore, but sometimes they have a baby carriage, but, you know, see a lot of bikers, you see a lot of walkers, and I think if a developer was putting in a development, he would enhance the development, so the housing would be worth more if he had a wider road with this availability
But that,
to
but
be safe as opposed to this narrow road. So I certainly would be opposed to this at this point.
But you're making my case when you said a developer would benefit. If the developer thinks that the people in the subdivision are going to want to do the things that you're talking about,
Yeah.
and that's going to be a selling point, nothing prevents him from putting in wider roads.
No. Well, but we can legislate it so we know he's gonna do it.
But
well, SHB Cortland Avenue, that's what he did up there. The plans call for 24-foot road rather than 20.
Yeah.
Because they wanted a wide road.
Okay, well,
In, I just hate to have cookie cutter approaches to things where we have a minimum that is just
I
unrealistically
like the
wide.
idea of doing it based on the amount of cars traveled per day.
Let me get a couple of
Yeah.
tables and some
And
sources.
little narrower bands as opposed to these
Yep,
wide bands.
yep, okay.
Well, hang on. This is gonna be another one of the special occasions where I agree with Neil. It doesn't happen very often, so I gotta make sure I say something. And somehow I had that little thing from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission that you
The
mentioned
chart,
earlier.
yeah.
I had a copy of it, it's gone, I don't know where it went, but I had it, I saw it like a month ago. In that same table, it's mentioning centerline geometry, horizontal curves, vertical curves, all those things. That is just as important as your width of your pavement, because that can make your road more serpentine.
Right, we wanna
It'll
cut,
make it more of a country road with a smaller radius curve.
we wanna cut, if you make the
Those kind of
radius a little
things.
smaller and cut down the tangent between radiuses,
The town, Wyndham actually allows reverse curves if the one radius is really super large. And I designed a subdivision Castle Reach, you guys may not be familiar.
I'm not
Yep.
sure Neil was here that night that she was here.
It was 600 acres. We had one tangent, 2.5 feet long. And everybody thought, the planning board didn't want it to be a through road between Derry and 93. So they aren't gonna drive through it, because I get lost in it, I designed it. But it actually looks pretty nice, because there's no straight stretches on it, it's just nothing but reverse
It
curve.
meanders through it.
What's a
Yeah.
reverse curve?
Turn
When you
right,
get-
immediately turn left. There's no
That's when you
straight
get a
stretch
curve
between
coming
it.
here and another curve off right here with no straight section in between.
Oh.
Like an S.
Okay. I'd never heard it called that, but
But you can't do it.
When all these towns
You have
first
to have a
started
tangent.
coming up with road
Everybody's
ages, they
right.
wanted 200 feet in between curves, which makes the roads become raceways.
Why?
It's easier to drive.
faster, get home faster.
yeah.
But if you can, you can make the radiuses, instead of 200-foot radiuses, make them a little tighter and get rid of, then you create,
That helps control speed.
it's slow speed, absolutely. Yeah.
And remember, we're talking about subdivisions, we're not talking about the town laying out a new road.
And they look much nicer.
In our regulations require a minimum tangent length between curves, 100 feet.
Yeah, I think we oughta,
I'm all for that. I was gonna get into massive geometry later on, but I'm all for looking at curve radius,
Moving on,
everything.
Still under 8.2, I have a question about something.
You remember?
Number 3 specifically, after clearing and grubbing is done, that paragraph, I don't know if you can see it in yours.
which page you want?
Where are you?
Page 20,
My page 20?
no,
No,
original page 20,
no, not the original.
okay. Printed page 20. It's 8.2, section 3.
Yes.
After clearing and grubbing is done, roads construction stakes shall be placed at 50-foot station. I don't understand that. 50-foot station, what is that? Or is that a typo?
No.
Okay.
Roads are stationed. They typically start 1 plus 0, well, 0 plus 0, 0 is 0. 1 plus 0, 0 is 100 feet.
Okay,
50-foot stations, 0 plus 50 is 50-foot stations.
okay. Okay, I just want to make sure it was,
Nope.
okay.
is it at 50-foot station or
Should be
stations?
stationed.
Okay.
Where is that from?
8.2, number 3, first line. And then the next section after that, roadway construction, 8.3, number 1. Third line down, protected and supplemented. I think that's supposed to be and. Since I were right there anyway.
But that would have been caught by the subcommittee of one.
Yes. Provided that person volunteered. I'm on enough subcommittees at the moment, thank you.
You can't be drafted?
No, I'm helping it. I'm gonna try that excuse, I don't know if it works.
Nice try.
I don't think that's gonna work.
I'll have to look at it online, update it.
Okay, moving on Craigslist, moving on to
Craigslist.
Yeah, Craigslist.
My mother-in-law has a Craigslist.
I don't see any changes on page 21, but there must be, or you haven't included it.
Very top, 60 to 75, in the very
Right.
first line.
This whole section we're gonna revisit anyway, this is all
Yeah.
road geometry.
Okay.
Actually, we might as well skip through the whole, well, anyway. What I have is page 25.
What's your section? I'm just wondering if it's the RSA issue that I
Yes,
found.
that's the same page,
45:17?
same page, yeah.
That doesn't exist, page 23.
Okay. You wouldn't want to know what it was, I didn't want to know what it was.
45:17 doesn't
This
exist.
is 841, and then 3. Or, no, is
8412,
April 1, 2.
Jay?
Okay.
J, yes.
Oh, okay.
That's
I've skipped past that, okay.
The damage control,
Just because everybody uses reinforced concrete and high-density polyethylene.
Corrugated, any kind of steel product, it doesn't stand up with
No.
the,
The only reason I wrote down should consult Public Works is some towns absolutely hate the HDPE pipe under the pavement.
well, if there's enough cover over them, they're
I
fine.
don't see an issue. You have it in millions of parking lots, it's all over the place, but
It's a matter of the depth of cover.
some towns just don't trust it.
Are we saying that we no longer will accept galvanized steel or corrugated aluminum?
Yes,
Yes, they just don't last. They don't last 20 years.
And how long does the high-density polyethylene last?
They don't wear out.
and it's plastic, it lasts a long time.
How big do they make them? 6, 7 foot?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they do?
And what about the language, should consult Public Works?
I just added that to before, like I said, some towns don't want the polyethylene underneath the pavement. I don't see why not, but
But won't we get that information from the Director of Public Works when he comments on a,
well, that's why I put it down, should consult Public Works.
that,
Note to self.
yeah, but I wouldn't put that in the regulations.
Well, no, I'm not gonna put, no, I'm gonna put in the regulations, that was just a note to myself.
Oh, so let's delete that.
Okay.
So, is it, are you saying that it must be either concrete or polyethylene?
Yes,
So then let's put an or,
or get rid of the.
and get rid of the word include.
So what you mean is we should consult Public Works
Yes.
before we make the change?
Yes.
So, but Craig wants this to read, acceptable pipe materials for roadway and drive pipe culverts are reinforced concrete or high-density polyethylene. That's what you want it to say, assuming Public Works agrees.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on.
8.3B, I guess, in it. Under ditches, same page in my handout. I don't know what RSA 45:17 is.
It doesn't exist.
And
45 speaks about mayors and cities.
And I have no idea what RSA they would be talking about that would have anything to do with cleaning ditches.
We just cross that as required by working out.
What is a site-specific
I
swale?
don't know what a site-specific swale is. Unless that's old language for a treatment swale.
That's what I'm thinking. Level
I
spreader,
just
treatment
now thought
swale.
of that.
Is 1% enough of a grade to have water flow?
It-
Well, you want it to be the same grade
It's
as the
keeping the
road.
road, so the ditch and the road are the same grade.
Makes it a lot easier to clean the ditch when the road and the ditch are the same grade.
And it will drain water? 1%, I mean,
Yeah.
because these drainage ditches usually are pretty rough material.
You want it to be rough to slow the velocity down.
Okay.
It's gotta be.
That's size, that's got like level spreaders and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's gotta mean treatment swales and.
So let's change the language, except for treatment swales? And get rid of the capital S.
Well, so, let's just, instead of, we don't need to exempt anything, I think we should, I think we
Period
need to
after.
put in here somewhere
Put a period after required.
that this is a road ditch, a roadway ditch.
That's what the whole section is.
And a treatment swale is not part of a road ditch.
No,
Right. That would be part of the site-specific, this,
Got it. So,
that's the treatment of the outlet of the ditch.
right.
so period after required, delete the rest of the
Eight
sentence.
8.2 is the roadway design standards. I
Yep.
say period after required and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know what it was.
Page 28.
What I'm calling 28.
This needs an update. I
Yes,
don't know what that means.
I didn't have time to look it up.
I don't think you need
I'll look it up. Well, Bruce can look it up. I'll give that to Bruce.
What do I have to look at?
Are you looking up I or H?
H.
That's our page 26 in the full version.
Okay.
Isn't this a pretty low standard? 2-year, 24-hour storm event? Is there some reason this isn't a 50-year storm event?
Well, when I say this needs an update, it's because what used to be called a site-specific permit, now we're calling it an alteration of terrain permit. They do a lot more than 2-year, 24-hour storm event, or a 50-year, or 100-year, or any other year. They actually do a 1 year to start with. Because that's where all the infiltration criteria is coming from now
And they've
in the state.
pretty much got to the point where post-development runoff cannot exceed pre-development runoff, period.
That's what this says, doesn't it?
No, it says it can't exceed it by a certain amount. DES is no exceeding it at all anymore, never mind by a certain amount. If you can't exceed it, you have to infiltrate it. So,
Measures shall be taken to control the
I don't
post-development
see,
peak,
I don't read that.
so it doesn't exceed pre-development runoff.
for that particular storm.
Right.
event. Well, DES has applied it pretty much for every period it can't exceed.
And the reason behind that is it's not the 10-year, 24-hour storm event, it's not the 50-year, that's not where most of the damage is, erosion damage is done, it's the June 10th
It's a free
thunderstorm that,
2-hour
Don't
storm
say-
where you got 2 inches of,
right, dumps an inch of rain on you in a half hour.
yeah.
That's the storm that really caused the erosion problems.
I can take a look at what DES has for this so we can put it in here.
If you could.
Moving on. Page 30. That was just a typo.
That was John caught that for me.
What was it?
And it has to become
Shall
B.
re-recorded instead of be recorded.
Okay.
And on page 33, monuments.
8.6, now you're getting into what I like to talk about. That's what I do for a living. Basically, concrete bounds, hardly anybody uses them except for DOT anymore.
Can we, I run into this a lot.
Okay.
People confuse road bounds for lot bounds all the time. What I've seen other places do is the road bounds are different size than lot bounds.
What do they have road bounds on, new development?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's, and if you get, especially when you when we're talking about reducing tangent lengths and all that, you're gonna see potentially more of them clustered together. They really confuse the crap out of people. homeowners down the road that misinterpret them for their lot corners.
Yes, they do. I know certain people require 4x4 for lot corners and 6x6 for roadway monumentation.
And I'm almost thinking going
And
the other way,
this- and this-
flipping that over.
And the 6x6 weigh twice as much as the 4x4.
Yeah, but you have to put more road bounds
You
in your
gotta
new
pick
lot
'em up.
corners. I know that. But road bounds, you usually have more road bounds in a subdivision than you do lot corners,
Why is it important to distinguish between road bounds and lot corners?
so that the homeowners can tell the difference. That's a different size. Maybe they'll try to figure out why.
But why do I as a homeowner care what size it is, as long as I have the location?
Because they don't think, they'll take the
Because you-
mistake a road corner for
you-
their lot corner.
You have two of them 10 feet apart. Two granite bounds, 5 or 10 feet apart.
Wait a second. Doesn't my lot and the road line up?
No,
Yes.
well, the frontage does, but not necessarily the corner.
Where you start a curve, or end the curve, you gotta put a granite bound.
So the granite bound, may I?
Sure.
These are my lot
Yeah,
corners.
yeah.
And then there's I don't know. These are the road markings, is that right?
Yeah, but those aren't so bad. It's when the road markings are right here and your lot corner is right there.
And you think that I, as a homeowner, when I find this one first and give up looking because I have absolutely no idea that this is a road bound,
That's right.
I'm gonna understand that, oh, it's 6x6, it's a road,
They're
or
gonna,
vice versa.
if they find this one, they're gonna say, how come this one's smaller than that one's bigger? They might look into the reason why.
Well, if you wanna save the developer some money, I wouldn't do that.
I'm not necessarily trying to save anybody money.
I know.
I mean, really,
What's
to
the
put in a bound, you gotta put in a bound. I mean, the price difference between the amount of bounds isn't astronomical. And the work is laying the thing out and getting it in there. I mean, you dig a hole for 4-inch bound or 6-inch bound. It's a little more digging, but it's not a lot.
Sometimes.
Are those holes dug by hand?
Yeah. Typically.
How deep?
Or 3 feet.
What happens if you hit a
3
ro-
3 feet.
What happens if you hit a stone, a boulder?
Hopefully you dig a bigger hole.
No, they break the bound.
Well, it depends. So you start with digging a bigger hole. If the rock's still there, then you break the bound of concrete in.
And use the top.
Break the bound, what does that mean?
Just break it. Take 2 feet.
Make it shorter.
Not so
Make it
tall.
shorter. Instead of 3 feet long, it's 2 feet long.
What happens if it's 6 inches long?
Doesn't stay there.
Usually, sometimes if you get that way,
I've never had that problem yet.
if you get the ledge when they come
You
back.
you must not be working in New Hampshire, at least
Oh,
in
yeah.
my part of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
If we can go down 6
Not
inches.
beside a road.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of that's been dug up.
So-
Okay. What are you trying to do with all of these changes, Craig? What's your objective?
Trying to get rid of concrete bounds because they don't last very long.
Okay.
Trying to get rid of iron pipes because nobody sets them. Let us use rebars because that's what most people set. That's about it.
And rebar is easier to put in than an iron pipe?
Easier to buy. You can get a little, plus
They make the cap,
survey administrative rule says you gotta put a cap on it with a
name and license number
name
on
and
it.
license number on it.
And how is that cap attached to the rebar?
It just slides down over top of it.
Pretty tight. They don't come off easy.
No, they don't come off.
It's made for that. Is 5/8 inch rebar?
Yeah, we use 3/4, but people use 5/8, half inch, 3/4. I like 3/4 because it doesn't move very much when you get it in the ground.
Why don't you specify 3/4?
I did,
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, I guess I didn't
next
read.
page.
Oh, next page. All right.
Front lot corners, all changes in direction of the right-of-way lines shall be monumented with stone bounds. What's the right-of-way line? You talking about the road?
Mhm.
All other lot corners shall be monumented with rebar or iron pipes. I thought you wanted to eliminate iron pipes.
How about,
Right. I would like to, but some people may still use it, so we don't need to.
in the monuments, why don't you specify a magnet?
What do you mean?
I just thought everybody had them in there.
They're wicked easy to find with a metal detector if there's a magnet in the thing. Okay, they put a drill hole on top of them?
Yeah.
And they put a little piece of magnet in the drill hole?
I didn't know that.
Magnets more sense, or more,
It sets off metal detector wicked.
oh, okay.
So you wouldn't have a meander line on a road, would you? You'd have it on a, huh? No.
That's what
River.
the others.
Yeah.
Let me
No,
just
no.
make it easier later when you gotta find them.
I mean, the meander line, the monument set on a meander line would probably be a lot, not a road.
Yes.
What is a meander line?
Usually it's along the river.
Or the middle of a river or something.
Say I own to the middle of the river.
Yes.
Where is my monument going to be under your proposal?
You draw a straight line and put one at each end. And you put the bearings and distances on that straight line.
So your property's in the middle of the river? Like that?
Yep.
Monument there, with a bearing and distance there. With a distance here, a distance there, and a distance along the river.
Where are all these distances?
On the plan.
On the plan.
And
You can't set a monument up, well, you can, but it's kind of silly to set a monument up there.
It won't stay there anyway. Ice will take it out.
And the meander line then is not at the edge of the river? Because the ice is gonna take
It
out.
kind of, it's kind of at the discretion of the guy
meander line is the property
setting it.
line,
Yeah.
so it could be the edge of the river, it could be the center line of the river, depending on the river and what the deed says.
So where are you gonna put your, I own to the center, where are you putting your,
My monument's up in the bank,
Out of the water flow.
wherever you wanna put it?
wherever I can put it easily, yes.
I see. And there are some sort of written instructions on that, or they're only on the plan?
Only on the plan.
That's the one with the orange cap on it, has your name and license number on it.
Right.
Okay. At the bottom of that page, you should delete the words of concrete or stone.
Can we put magnets on the
Yeah,
roundabouts?
I wrote magnets in the other one.
Are you adding the magnets, Bruce?
Everywhere you see stone, stone bound.
Where does the word, what phrase goes in there?
I'll steal it from somebody.
Okay. So we don't have the final language yet. Okay.
I'll put it, Frank will update.
He'll fill us in with magnets. 2A, stone, delete or concrete bound shall be, and then delete of concrete or stone. So it reads, stone bound shall be not less than 36 inches in length, not less than 4 inches square, and marked on top of the cross brass plug, iron rod, or other durable material embedded, securely embedded.
That's where we put magnets.
And then rebars and iron pipes. Iron pipe shall be at least 36 inches long and 7/8 inch diameter or square. Rebar 38 3/4. Okay.
Now, what you don't have on here anyway, Craig, drill holes and stone walls.
But he says in the event of natural features, the stone wall's not a natural feature.
Well,
It says offsets or drill holes will be
yeah,
allowed.
I think we need to specify
that
the
said
size of the drill hole.
Oh, come on.
No, have you seen some of those drill holes that are so small you can't even find them? You've found those.
Well, you gotta realize now the administrative rules say when you put a drill hole in, you gotta put some kind of magnet in that also.
Exactly.
So you're gonna see a bolt sticking out of a stone wall, but you're not gonna see a drill hole. Because the surveyor's following the rules.
When you come to a stone wall, and the stone wall consists of a base rock and 2 or 3 rocks on top of it, where do you put your
Base
monument?
rock.
Even if it's not even if the base rock is not actually the point that you want to mark.
Oh, they'll get to the point they gotta mark.
Yeah. that's-
Well,
that's
what happens
pretty
if it's in the
well
center of the stone wall
marked. Yeah,
You'll see a
and the
couple rocks
base
move
rock
aside.
is under it? You're going to take the wall down?
yes,
Yeah, they do.
yes, I do. Otherwise, it's not a permanent monument.
And if we could put something there with a magnet or a PK nail in the drill hole.
I use a bolt, then the thread's kind of
Yeah.
much.
Tom, did you know this much about surveying before you joined the planning board?
Because what happens is, Neil, when they're doing the surveying,
I
the
don't
field
think that
crew,
mine was done that way. I
What?
think I have some of those magnetic pieces attached directly to stone, natural stone in the stone wall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay,
I take
so you don't need to move it.
Well,
No,
Okay.
they move the top
If you
stones to get
got-
to the bottom stone. If the
Yes.
top stones are on top of the place on the bottom stone where they want to put their drill
Okay,
hole.
but they do attach them to the stone that's already there, if it's
Yes.
part of the stone.
Well, this
Yeah.
doesn't say so, see, that's why I wanted to.
Answer your question.
Because to find one of those drill holes in February when there's 3 feet of snow on the ground is next to impossible, but if there's a big metal.
finding a granite bound is next to impossible too, and so is an iron pin, a rebar.
Yeah, but if there's a magnet in it, it makes it a lot easier.
You have to put a magnet in now.
Well, then let's put it in here.
In the event of natural features or stone walls, offset or drill holes will be allowed. Is that what you want?
Because typically what happens is when the field crew is out doing the field work, when they're doing the traverse, when they're doing the original survey, they'll be putting drill holes and magnets in the stone wall as they go, where the stone wall takes bends.
Yes.
They don't, it's not monumentation that gets done later. They typically do that in the field as they're doing the survey.
Silly question.
They can find them in a rock.
Say
So you
the
can find a middle picture.
landowner, homeowner, whatever,
Well, of course you can
goes
find
to
a
the
hole in the middle.
Board of Selectmen to remove part of that stone
Yeah,
wall.
Why do you
that's
call it a
you
magnet?
move.
What happens?
That's what he wants.
I'm just curious.
I'm gonna say something Paris. I'm not gonna say magnet.
Craig,
They have to come here first. to the
what
planning
happens
board.
if you put a monument in a stone wall and subsequently the owner subdivides his property or
There's still a bend
wants,
point in the wall.
wants to make an entryway through the wall and move that stone?
Same thing as if they do the same thing with concrete mound, it's gone.
I had it
Is
happen.
that legal?
I
I own the both sides of it, yeah.
Well, I had a guy ask
I
me,
assume
one
whoever's doing
of
the
the
road is not a park
stages,
line anymore.
logging, he moved the stone wall. So I had to hire a guy to go back, and some loggers wanted to use my land to stage a wood cut operation on the neighbor's land. Like, yeah, go ahead. And they moved that rock with the,
With hole in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I kept looking on that, she's the one, because I was reading the deed, I said, somewhere it is a rock with a hole, but there was no rock with a hole. They needed a wider entrance or entrance.
Those drill holes get really hard to find and
Yeah.
when they're in the shady areas where the moss grows and.
Oh, yeah, you're
Give
doing
it
it with your
20
finger,
years.
you're probing around, scratching.
I've taken well, we use a machete cut brush, taken a machete to scrape the whole rock and, is this it? No, that's not it. Then you finally find one, well, that guy makes a winky little drill hole, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, swung the hammer like twice.
Yeah. Then you remember that survey and say, okay, I remember him.
Okay, moving on.
Yes, moving on.
33, we're on page 34. We're okay with the stuff at the top.
I'm okay, well, I just, don't worry about the driveway.
Right,
We
and
already fixed that,
we already fixed that. It's not in here, right?
right.
It's in the ordinance. Fire protection systems,
I didn't do anything with it.
okay, utilities.
I thought someplace we said all utilities had to be underground. And I could not find it.
It says right above that, any plot plan, subdivision, or plan or town road construction plans must include underground, oh, this just requires the recording of it.
Under utilities, you specify telephone, electricity, and cable. The town's now running fiber.
It's a telephone.
Okay. The argument could be made that it's more internet than telephone, though.
Should we
Yeah, it's the phone company, I don't know, I mean.
You know, there are a lot of changes coming along in terms of how
And where they are.
our homes are going to be powered in the future, and it's not just gas, natural gas, but also hydrogen, things like that. If we're putting in subdivision regulations, should we make provision for, I don't know what you'd call them, conduit that could take some of these in the future without having to dig up the entire length of things?
They'll never pull them through it. Because if they don't have, especially with something like that, if they don't have inspection capabilities to check around the pipe and all that, they'll never let you do it. They'll make you dig it up and bury it fresh anyway. Because they want to make sure it's installed right.
So we would have to put in the piping, require the piping be put in now, rather than just have a conduit for pipe and. Got it.
Yeah, you'd never pull it off.
Nice try, though.
Well,
Public Service has changed their regulations on how to bury wires 3 times in the last 10 years.
so what are we saying by utility poles should be kept close to the right-of-way line, et cetera?
I didn't cross it out.
You did.
No, wait,
It is crossed out, isn't it?
yes, it is, but I also wanted to cross out or aerial service systems right before that.
There was an article in the Concord Monitor just recently, within the last few days, regarding a resident that's gone to great lengths regarding solar panels near a lot line.
I read that too.
Oh, yeah, I read
Yeah,
that.
I was gonna bring it up too.
Do solar panels fall under utilities?
Privately owned.
Close to a lot line, which is, in this case, this particular argument, it was within the setbacks, and
I was gonna say, I think a solar panel would be a structure for our zoning would have to meet setback requirements.
That was the issue here. I read the same article. It's been going on for a long time. The zoning does have a setback like we do, except it's even more. I think it's a 40-foot setback from the sidelines.
yeah, I think so.
And this solar panel apparatus was within 8 feet of the
14,
14.
yeah, 14 from the lot line.
Well, anyways, it was far, far closer than what a structure would be. They couldn't put a shed there or something, but they were allowed to put this solar panel structure.
It's kind of a
They could
full
put a
part
shed
on
there,
a
you said?
building inspector part, because you have to get a permit to install solar panels.
Did you say they could put a shed there?
They couldn't.
Oh, could not.
I'm just saying, comparison, they would have been in trouble to put a shed there, but they did get permission to put the solar panels.
The town approved.
There was some interpretation by the building department that was
Well,
maybe inappropriate.
the zoning or whatever the
Zoning or
city of
planning,
Concord
whatever
has.
they-
Yeah,
They approved it. The abutters sued. Guess it went to Superior Court, Supreme Court, whatever it did. They recommended it go back to the board. The board said, yep, we still did it right, and now it's going back and forth.
Mhm.
But I'm just,
But it's all installed, so the neighbors are tough luck.
Yeah,
yeah. And with solar becoming more and more prevalent nowadays, I believe you guys just had a meeting this past Monday or the Monday before regarding that with solar up at the selectmen's meeting. Do we have anything in any of our regulations regarding solar? If not, should we? And would it be in,
That'd be a good conversation for next fall, we do zoning,
or should it be under subdivision?
definitely zoning.
Okay.
Yeah, it would, when the discussion comes up, it seems to me that it's a structure,
Yeah,
you know.
although it could be viewed as an accessory structure, and how close to an accessory, what's the setback for accessory structure?
and where same as a structure.
Hmm?
I think it's based on square footage if you don't hit a certain square foot. But with solar panels, you're gonna hit the square footage because you need the area no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, but you can put 30 feet high,
Yeah, but they still gotta, you
100
gotta,
feet long.
oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah. And that'll be a good view for the neighbor.
What was the issue there? They were
Too
within
close to
the,
the lot line and they're having trouble selling their house and property values.
how? It was within a setback?
Yes,
Well within setback,
14 feet from the lot line.
rather than 40.
But the
And they
town,
allowed it?
the town approved it,
Because,
a variance, because it was the only suitable place on the property for.
Well, you got a
ground
variance?
I don't know.
I'd have to go back to the article. I thought I read that the town.
I think that the planning board said they didn't have anything that addressed it. Maybe that addressed the situation, so in the absence of regulation, this guy was free gratis wherever he wanted to do. But maybe I misinterpreted that too.
I'd have to go back and reread it. I read it quickly this afternoon and I wanted to bring it up.
Craig raised the question before, is there any requirement that utilities be underground in new subdivisions?
I thought someplace we did that, and I could not find it when I was going through this. I actually thought Neil brought it up someplace.
Discussed that, I think.
I thought we did it.
Huh?
Obviously, I didn't see
Well,
it.
certainly, is it Holly Hills? It's on top of Flanders Memorial.
Mhm.
Their utilities are underground. But
Rolling Hills too, isn't it?
No,
No?
Fox Hollow?
Brookshire's underground, but I know Durgan was designed above ground.
Which came first?
Brookshire. Durgan's
May-
not built
it
yet.
might have been in the cluster regulation.
No, in Brookshire's case, I know Bob wanted to do it that way. Might be in the cluster regulation.
Which one's cluster? Oh, here it is, cluster
27.
2730.
I couldn't find the 20-foot road easements either. I don't see the one.
The big problem with utilities in general is the ditches have to be so wide today
Only goes back to 2014, so.
that it's almost impossible.
I like the board.
Oh, you did?
Impossible to put them underground, you mean?
To put them
You must have something since then.
in the right of way
Right-of-way and still be underground?
and still be out of the ditch
Why are the ditches so wide?
because of the volume of water that we have to design for.
Make Neil's pavement 16 feet wide, we got it made.
Yeah. Narrow the road up, you do have wide room, more room for ditches. But I'm just saying, the ditches go, right now there's, if there's a ditch at all next to a road, usually there's an easement on the lot next to it, because there's not enough room on the road, in the roadway for the ditch. So where do you put the telephone pole?
Actually, there was one subdivision, I believe, where they had to move them because they put them in the ditch.
Right.
Yes.
Then it was because the ditch went right beyond the lot line.
I don't think those poles were well inside the right of way though.
Yes.
The one that's front of.
Okay, so we need to decide whether we want to require underground utilities, and if so, is it just clusters or is it for everything?
I think it should be everything.
Why?
Well,
Why underground versus aerial?
more-
Other than
more-
aesthetics and,
More reliable.
okay,
No trees knock power lines down underground.
true.
That's, no poles get hit by cars.
And if you got narrower roads, you can have a canopy, because now you're keeping it clear for the utilities.
No cars hitting poles.
Thank you, Bruce. That was well said.
And then Bruce's idea.
And how much extra does this cost?
That's a good question.
Quite a bit.
Well, it's not that quite a bit as much as, anymore as it used to be, because now they're charging $20 a foot for overhead power.
No, okay.
So-
I didn't know that.
With underground power, the only thing public service is doing is putting a wire in and pulling it.
Right.
So it's a lot less, it's not as, the price difference isn't as great as it used to be, because they're charging a lot more for overhead. The price for underground hasn't changed.
You mean they charge to bring electricity to my house?
Oh, yeah,
Big time.
$20 a foot.
I thought this was supposed to be public service.
Public utilities told them they had to charge, because the rest of the state couldn't
They changed
pay
the
for
name.
putting power to your house.
I see. So
You
even though the
probably
power,
voted for that,
even though the power lines pass right by my house, I build a new house, I have to pay $20 a foot to get the electricity from the pole to my house?
Mhm.
Hope you don't need another pole.
And and as a developer, do I pay 20 feet, $20 a foot for the power lines along my development road?
Oh, yeah,
And the homeowner pays 20 feet from that line to his house?
yep,
It's the same $20 a foot.
That's just for power.
yeah, it's just, yeah, right, that's just for power, that doesn't include telephone, that's just power.
And what about the telephone poles? Are they included in the $20?
No,
Are
So-
there
oh, the
poles?
poles are,
The poles
the
are.
poles and the electric wire.
And if I want telephone service?
The telephone company's gonna charge you so much a foot for running whatever they're gonna run.
Well,
Plus, you gotta have the right conduit buried a certain depth and a lot of site work involved with that.
But the
too.
site work hasn't changed. The price of, I mean, that part of it, really, I mean, it hasn't changed as much. Public service went up, they doubled their price overnight 2 years ago.
Okay.
So they went from, so they really, the cost of overhead power now, it's actually less expensive to put a pedestal right next to the street with a meter on it and run your own wire underground to the house.
is that legal?
Perfectly legal.
Can I just plain bury it, or it has to go in a conduit?
It still has to meet building code requirements, which are less stringent than public service requirements. You can use smaller conduit, the ditch doesn't have to be as deep. The wire is sized per the load on the house, not just a blanket size for everything.
So there is an added cost for burying, but it's not substantial.
It's not as much as it used to be.
Well, that's different from whether it's substantial or not.
It's still, I mean, the
How much-
cost of
how
getting
much would it-
utilities in now is substantial period, no matter how you do it.
It's $20 a foot to bring electricity in overhead. How much
Mhm.
is it a foot to bring it in
I don't know.
buried?
I don't know. It depends on, because public service doesn't supply the pipe, they don't dig the ditch, they don't put the sand around it, all they do is run the wire. For that, I don't know. I'll find out tomorrow. I'm meeting with public service. It's probably like $5 a foot.
And then you have to pay another $5 a foot, so to speak, to the telephone company
Which you'd have to do anyway,
and the cable company.
which you'd have to do anyway.
Well, I suggest that when we finish with Craigslist, we go home.
Good suggestion.
You say we're done?
I think we are. I looked ahead. Except for making that decision on the
Craig,
utilities.
on the utility thing, do you still want to cross
I
out,
thought we were done.
wait, do you still want to cross out what you've done?
I want to cross out from beginning at or aerial service system.
He wants them all underground, which I don't have a problem with because the price is not that much different anymore. But because it is in our, and the reason I don't have a real big problem with it too is it's in zoning, so if someone comes in with a subdivision where they got ledge at 2 feet and they're in the ledge and it's gonna cost them an arm and a leg to blast and everything, we can talk to them. They can talk to us.
But if you're blasting the road and everything else, it's not gonna be that much more to blast.
Not to blast the trench,
No.
but, I mean, so because it's in here, at least it's open for negotiation.
Did everybody get the one piece of paper from Mr. Chip? Yes, everybody did. That is from Bill Drescher. For our, whatever article I mentioned earlier, 3 point.
By access, okay,
For the vesting,
this is what he wants us to put in.
yes.
Okay. I went through the whole thing, and I have a whole bunch of other questions, mostly technical questions to make sure that we're consistent and so forth. And I got some of the spelling errors that John would otherwise have found. But we'll discuss those when next we do this.
Good.
Recycling?
This is something
No, it was
back to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, right in here?
Yeah.
Yay.
Are we gonna do minutes of the 26th, or we're gonna wait? All right,
Tina
What did I
already
just ask?
okay.
Tina already asked, no. I need to put this up. Here's my Vermont standards. I knew I had
That's the
them.
one I got.
Yeah, I knew I had them. How'd I lose them?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Do a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.